Tomorrow, everyone, viewer call-ins on Destiny stream. Subscriber call-ins, I guess I should say. They're going to be moderated by me. I'm going to not allow any AI debates. I'm probably not going to allow any debates on veganism. I'm going to institute you have 3 minutes, and then chat will vote on if you are kept or if you're kicked. We're going to keep trying that. I liked that last time. Israel-Palestine will be allowed at the beginning, but if a topic becomes too much, I'm going to then ban it, and I'll upload like the pin in the DGG chat. So currently at the start, the ban topic is AI, and there's a soft ban on veganism. If you come in to debate veganism, you have to have a stance that you are anti-vegan. I don't want to hear any pro-vegan arguments where you're trying to talk Steve into veganism, because that's boring. Yeah, sure. 5 minutes then. Ban abortion. Well, hold on. Let's let one come in. What happened to farming Asmongold callers? That is going to be hopefully either next week or the week after. I don't know why they wanted to do subscriber call-ins this week. I was going to do Asmongold, but then subscriber call-ins were called. So we will get that going, though. 10-minute ads. Ban life and financial advice? Oh, financial advice for sure banned. Big, huge ban. I'm probably going to be mean, okay? So if you come in and you ask some stupid shit, you're just going to get immediately kicked out, because there's 50,000 people who want to come fucking talk instead of you. This week is mean viewer call-ins, okay? I will be doing morning anything else, and then probably going to go offline for Dear Leader, and then I will do the viewer call-ins for him.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Who decided that? Sorry.
Me. Wait, don't do Arc Raiders, do Slay the Spire. Why do you have to do duos?
I need to finish my projects, okay? And then I'll do one Slay the Spire.
Nice.
Fuck, I was going to say something, you just deleted my fucking brain, Mootin. Fuck, what was I...
You said who decided that?
Hold on. Oh. Has Mamdani or his wife spoken about the tweets or anything? Have they made any official statements or whatever? Or have any Democrats responded to it?
I hope not.
Me too.
Doesn't deserve any fucking time.
Yeah, I know she deactivated the account, but I hope that none of them... I hope they continue to starve it. It is so cringe and irritating. I just saw fucking Brianna fucking Wu jump on this train too. Seeing all the people trying to hand wring over... She tweeted out the N-word with the soft A when this girl was 15 years old and has probably been called the N-word before. Like, oh my God, give me a break. It's actually so fucking pathetic. This is his tweet. No, please don't cuck out. Please don't cuck out. Based. Okay.
What do you say?
I don't know. It's a picture of
Oh.
Some shitty cup of New York coffee, probably. I will say, for a city that probably has a greater diversity and higher quality of food than any other country in the world, New York City people sure do stand some of the shittiest fucking food possible, like New York pizza.
Like what? Oh, you're retarded.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You like the
You're
cardboard
trolling.
and cheese? You like that? That's good to you.
What do you mean
You
cardboard
like cardboard and cheese?
What
Okay.
are you talking about?
That's cool. Let me guess. You ready?
New York style pizza is the best.
Are you ready to be destroyed
Go ahead.
by my whole chat? You're going to lose everything here. Are you
Go
ready?
ahead. Yeah.
Do you think it's acceptable to fold pizza and eat it?
Yeah. Why not?
That's it. Yeah, there it is. See? You guys are not human. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me that you would pretend to be a serious person.
Why the fuck not?
I don't have to say anything else. You've destroyed yourself, Mootin. Do you understand?
Okay. You're just a fool. I get it.
National Security Agency Lieutenant General William J. Hartman and Director of Defense Intelligence
Swap my
Agency,
screen. I don't wanna
Lieutenant
see your
General
argument,
James
but-
H. Adams III. Thank you all for being here. It's a gross understatement to say that a lot has occurred since we met at this hearing last year. Before I address the issues I had planned, I want to address Iran. Once it was clear that diplomacy would not stop Iran from developing a nuclear weapon or holding the world under threat through ballistic missiles and terrorist networks, President Trump took decisive action to eliminate the threat. Make no mistake, Iran is committed to acquiring nuclear weapons. It's been their policy.
Do you eat with a fork and knife? No, you hold it. What are you talking about? But you don't fold a pizza. That's ridiculous.
You have to fold it if it's going to flop.
Then you're eating bad pizza. Then why don't you eat a real piece of pizza?
No, your average fucking pizza is so stuffed with toppings that you can barely fit it in your mouth, which means that it's going to fucking flop no matter what.
Okay, why
So
not
how
just,
do
if you want to eat bread, just get breadsticks.
What are you talking about,
If
man?
you're
How
so
do you eat
mad
your pizza normally?
that you're putting stuff on your pizza to make it good, why are you... Oh, I can't have any toppings on my pizza. I just need to sprinkle some cheese and then eat
Respond to my claim then.
cardboard
Respond
paper.
to my claim.
What claim?
How do you eat your pizza with all those toppings?
You pick it up with your hand and you put it in your
And?
mouth and bite it.
Okay, so you're telling me your pizza doesn't flop?
Nope. It doesn't.
You're lying.
I don't
man.
eat floppy
You're lying.
pizza.
I don't know
floppy
what to
pizza.
tell you. You're lying.
I don't eat floppy pizza. Sorry.
You're lying. Okay, you can lie.
And
That's
it is
fine.
their intent. Anyone who thinks we weren't on borrowed time is refusing to acknowledge the failure of prior policies. It's a simple fact that the consecutive administrations had exhausted all other options to end this threat. Our witnesses here are tasked with providing intelligence to inform decision makers. But there's only one person in America who has the responsibility and the obligation to act when he believes there is a clear and present danger to our safety. The Commander-in-Chief has that duty, and I commend his decisiveness in this most difficult of decisions. I've been in briefings that the administration provided to all members, to this committee, and to the Gang of Eight. The classified case is
New Yorkers are literally 2 months away from just arguing that they should be able to throw their pizza in a blender and drink it, and it's going to be the same shit. Unbelievable.
clear, even if it can't be fully discussed in the open. The president made a difficult but necessary decision. My Democrat colleagues have made it clear that they don't agree. What we shouldn't disagree on is that the United States has effectively been at war with the Iranian regime for the last 47 years. The Death to America is not just a slogan on a T-shirt that you buy at Tehran International Airport or at the campus bookstore at Columbia University. It's their ethos and their policy. They are responsible for the deaths of countless Americans. I want to thank the many service members and intelligence officers involved in Operation Epic Fury for their selfless service. For those who have lost loved ones in this fight, please know that you are in our prayers. Most
Anybody
sincerely.
else who's epic out here, guys?
Your loved ones died in service to the United States of America. We honor them and you for their service. Freedom-loving people everywhere are thankful for their sacrifice. That said, there are a few other topics it's important for me to
I will
address.
say
First, after
square
4 years of Biden's
is the
wide open
best pizza shape.
True.
I'll agree with you there.
borders and anemic foreign policy, in just one short year, the Trump administration has secured our borders and reasserted America as a decisive leader that commands respect on the world stage.
True.
This administration has secured a stunning number of wins for the United States,
Wow.
including reasserting the importance of the Western Hemisphere and disrupting China's predatory Belt and Road activities in our neighborhood, negotiating a ceasefire in Gaza resulting in the freeing of the hostages held by the bloodthirsty Hamas terrorists, and working with our NATO partners to more than double their
doing
defense
it,
spending
dude,
against
not
pressing
me.
threats from CCP and Russia. I thank each of the witnesses here today for their parts in the reassertion of American leadership. Second, our role here is to both authorize your authorities and resources and oversee their implementation. One of those authorities is FISA 702, which expires in just over a month. The President is seeking an 18-month clean extension to provide more time to assess the implementation of the 56 reform measures included in the last.
Listen, I know people are saying that this was a thing before Trump, but I don't believe it. This obsession with calling things like clean.
Oh, clean colon shit? Yeah, retarded.
Yeah. Oh, no, not that. That is retarded. But like when you can't pass. Did this guy flashlight me and then shoot my free kit? This obsession with calling things like a clean resolution or a clean budget or a clean thing because you can't pass a real budget, so you're just trying to pass bits and pieces, is so fucking stupid and cringe to me. Oh my god.
Reauthorization. I'm working with the ranking member, House leadership, and Judiciary Chairman Jordan to support that request. We look forward to an update from the panel today on compliance efforts, ERISA implementation, and mission value. Third, last year, I made clear my expectation that we would work together to end the weaponization of the intelligence community, improve analytic integrity, and fix our broken counterintelligence enterprise. Many in Congress and across our nation have lost trust in the intelligence community. While we have made progress, there's still much work that remains to be done. I hope to continue working with each of you to do the hard things necessary to protect American citizens while regaining their trust. I also remain committed to tackling the issues that allow hostile foreign powers to operate so effectively against us, including within the United States. Specifically, foreign intelligence threats targeting the United States now surpass levels seen at the height of the Cold War in both scale and complexity. These threats include cyber penetrations of critical infrastructure, U.S. government systems, and private sector innovators, as well as surveillance near sensitive military installations, intelligence collection against foreign dissidents living in the United States. Like in the Cold War, where conflict often gave way to irregular operations below the level of traditional warfare, Today's adversary tactics have made the homeland a contested environment. We must properly resource and reform our nation's counterintelligence enterprise to meet that threat. We must transform our approaches in order to confront adversarial intelligence services at scale, driving back operational activities in the homeland and forcing our adversaries to rethink their risk calculus for operating in the United States. Unfortunately, in recent years, the counterintelligence enterprise lost a significant amount of credibility with the American people due to the actions of those involved in cases like Crossfire Hurricane and Arctic Frost. For our intelligence community to best serve America, the CI community and the larger IC must stay out of domestic policy debates and focus on unrelenting, aggressive mission execution. For our intelligence community to best serve America, the CI community and the larger IC must stay out of those debates. Director Gabbard, I want to particularly commend your efforts in this space. Specifically, I want to thank you and President Trump for working with us to declassify the HPSI Majority Staff Report on the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment on Russian Plans and Intentions in the 2016 election. The Majority Staff Report, which had been kept from the American people for 8 years, proves that the 2017 ICA, the public genesis of the Russia collusion hoax, was a politicized document.
Wow.
Its key assessment on Putin's hopes for the 2016 election was built on, at best, abysmal and analytic tradecraft, and at worst, willful political charged intentions. This was a necessary act of transparency to begin the process of rebuilding trust with the American people and the IC. But please know the challenges facing each one of you that are testifying here is not lost on this committee. Getting a large ship back on the right course is never easy. The task can certainly be challenged by unforeseen obstacles and obstructions. You know you are doing something right when all the weapons in the media's arsenal are pointed directly at you. Thank you all for pressing forward. We can walk and chew gum.
You know, the more people that call you retarded, the smarter you actually are.
Same time, and we must have our IC as aggressive as ever in pursuing its mission while holding those accountable who participated in its misuse. I thank each of you for doing this and encourage you to all keep moving on both fronts. Finally, now I want to speak to our remarkable IC workforce. I'm immensely proud of the incredible work that you do, especially over the last year, to support critical military intelligence and law enforcement operations. From Operations Midnight Hammer, Absolute Resolve, Southern Spear, and Epic Fury, to the many other operations you've conducted in the shadows with no fanfare, Americans will never be able to fully appreciate all you do to protect this nation. I think I can speak for the entire committee when I say we extend our deepest gratitude. America truly has the best of the best in our ranks. It's for this primary reason I would like to address the House Intelligence Committee's ongoing investigation into the intelligence community.
Where is my Hassan stream, Mutin? Has he streamed yet today?
Brother.
He was supposed to be streaming today.
He's still on the fucking plane, man.
He was supposed to be streaming today.
He's still on the plane, dude.
What do you think of the chances that he would just go to, like, some island in the Caribbean? How much power does Cuba have right now? Like, wouldn't it be weird? Like, imagine if he's, like, one of the only people with power, sitting with his, like, $7,000 outfit, streaming in some bougie hotel room, while everybody else is suffering on the island. Jesus.
Well, I don't think he's gonna stream because he's gonna cope. He's gonna be like, well, the bad Benato guy says he's gonna fucking kill me.
Okay, true.
Mishandling of anomalous health incidents, also known as Havana syndrome, and the mistreatment of AHI survivors. I'm aware of the drastic increase in media reporting around.
ASU approved our event with Destiny. Then Erica Kirk shows up and complains. Hours later, it's canceled at a public university. We're suing Arizona State. What? Our shit better not be canceled. I already booked my tickets.
This issue, and I'd like to first reiterate the committee's commitment to releasing additional unclassified information. Our team has worked diligently to conduct this investigation with the utmost integrity, and we cannot be driven by outside timelines. I commit to the workforce to release additional reports as appropriate. Put simply, it's my clear opinion that individuals in the intelligence community were involved in a cover-up.
Whoa.
Manipulating intelligence processes in a breach of Intelligence Community Directive 203 to provide a desired outcome rather than a forthright analysis to inform decision makers. Our investigation, the vast majority of which remains appropriately classified, continues to show that the intelligence community assessment was constructed upon flawed analytic tradecraft. This includes the use of study results from the National Institutes of Health that were manufactured through highly unethical means and in collaboration with individuals working for the CIA.
Whoa. ICAs
carry a great deal of weight. While typically classified, the impact is increased exponentially when declassified and released as part of public messaging effort, as was done with the AHI ICA. As I have repeatedly stated since December of 2024, the AHI ICA and its follow-on updates caused real, serious harm to some of our nation's bravest. Last month, I called for its immediate recall, and I reiterate my position today. According to recent media reporting, Director Gabbard, your office has said your review of the ICA will be, quote, comprehensive and complete.
What state is this guy from?
that you remain committed to sharing findings from your review with the American people. Thank you for that. And separately, Director Ratcliffe, your team is also quoted in recent media reporting saying that you support the OD&I review and look forward to the report. Thank you so much for that, Director. I thank both of you for your commitment to this review's completion and publishing. This issue is complex and the underlying facts are not as simple as often portrayed in the public. No fully informed analysis will make everyone happy. That said, today I call for this review to be provided to the committee and strongly urge you to release the public whatever portion of this review can be made unclassified. This is vital to rebuilding trust moving forward. I want to thank our witnesses again for being here today. And with that, I want to recognize the distinguished ranking member, Mr. Himes, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and a big welcome to all of our witnesses. I hope that whatever else is said today, that you will convey to your workforces our deep admiration and appreciation for their diligence, their commitment, and their sacrifice.
Deep hammer.
Sometimes this moment feels a little bit like that old Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire. North Korea, Red China, war in Ukraine, Greenland, Cuba, terrorism, burning drug boats, and of course, the massive fire that we did start, our latest Middle Eastern war. Where to begin? Our national elections are about 7 months away, and plenty of Americans are worried that President Trump may indeed, as he said, take control. Meanwhile, we are not receiving the traditional indications or warnings of foreign intelligence efforts to interfere in those elections. There have been several terrorist attacks in recent weeks, and meanwhile, the FBI, our premier counterterrorism agency, has pivoted hard to immigration enforcement. But I can't begin today with anything other than that fire that we did start, Iran. The Constitution, to which every single one of us swears an oath, reserves decisions of war to the representatives of the people. And that's not ink on parchment. There are good reasons for that.
What?
First, let's start with why.
Okay.
Why did we and are we risking our blood and treasure on a deeply risky venture, one that the President of the United States and the Director of National Intelligence have spent years telling us is a terrible idea?
True. Good question. Why?
The President has said that Iran was preparing an imminent attack on the United States.
Okay.
That is not true.
Ooh.
As awful as the regime is and always has been, not one of your agencies has produced a single report saying that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States. The President also claimed that Iran would soon possess a nuclear weapon, perhaps in weeks. That is also not true. It is not supported by a single report from your agencies, and it is certainly belied by the repeated claim that Iran's nuclear capability was obliterated mere months ago.
Ooh.
Second, let's consider the consequences, as the Congress should have done. The Congress, not one man, should consider whether our constituents in uniform will live or die. The Congress, not one man, should decide if Americans will spend an additional $30 a week to fill their gas tanks. The Congress, not one man, should consider if it is wise to allow the Russians to sell their oil to India so that they have millions of dollars with which to kill the Ukrainians that we are now begging for help to defend ourselves against Iranian drones.
True.
Finally, had the administration chosen to
Where's
abide
Mr. Himes from?
by the Constitution, Congress might have considered the answer to General Petraeus's all-important question. Tell me how this ends.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Wait. I thought that there was a flotilla that Hassan said he would be on, and then he pussied out because he's a loser. Are you telling me that there was never a flotilla and all these people were just flying? Now we're on our way to Cuba. Our Code Pink delegation to the Nuestra America convoy is carrying thousands of pounds of urgently needed humanitarian aid. Maybe these people are flying to Florida and then they'll get on a flotilla?
We are on our way to Cuba! And we're here to say, Cuba sí bloqueo no! Cuba sí bloqueo no! Cuba sí bloqueo no! Cuba sí bloqueo.
What? This girl doesn't look happy.
Cuba sí bloqueo no! 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 Cuba sí bloqueo no!
It says on the bottom of the page you change from flotilla to convoy to allow for more aid. What is a convoy? You mean from boats to planes? Or what, like, you can have a convoy of... I don't know what that means. Hold on. They changed... We've been inundated with requests to support this critical mission. That's why we're opening the mission to delegations from across the world. To maximize the amount of aid we can carry, Nuestra America calls on communities everywhere to collect aid and converge in Havana on March 21st. This approach will ensure the largest amount of aid reaches Cuban people in the most efficient manner possible. What is the Convoy to Cuba? A coalition of individuals and organizations dedicated to delivering critical humanitarian aid to the Cuban people. This doesn't make any sense to me. Can't boats hold more people and more supplies? Okay, this is not a convoy nor a flotilla. This is just a bunch of people flying to Cuba. Like, what is, when they say thousands of pounds of aid, do they just mean they like packed stuff in their luggage? Our charter flight, oh my God, with thousands of pounds of aid, gets ready to depart Miami to Havana. Loader box! There he is! I'm just kidding. Where's Hassan? I thought Hassan said they couldn't broadcast this because it was OPSEC and it would lead to horrible things. Are these guys crazy?
Cuba sí bloqueo, no. Cuba sí.
If they had thousands of pounds of aid, wouldn't you have like a picture of this or video of this? They are flying from LA Southwest, has a direct flight to Cuba from LAX. Well, but it says, no, it says this is going from Miami to Havana. They might have flown LAX first to Miami, I guess, but then and then Miami to Havana, but. What is the aid they're bringing? Wait, he's live! Oh my God. My king! Why can't you thank your top supporters on Kick? Thank local Naismith for the 8 subs. Thank you! Local Naismith for the 5 gifted Kick subs. I need this to make a sound when it happens. Breaking Z update. Unfortunately, at ASU canceled our Unfuck America Tour event that we had scheduled on Monday with the Omni Liberal. We are still showing up on campus anyway. As a result, we are filing a lawsuit against Arizona State University for violating First Amendment rights. The same day it was canceled, Mrs. Erica Kirk showed up at the campus and complained about Unfuck America. Ironically, in that same meeting, Erica scolded her chapter members for not countering our event. She told them to stop talking about Iran and just talk about freedom of speech.
I put the kids to bed and I put the kids to bed and I thought to myself, you guys are in our backyard. And I was really frustrated that you guys weren't able to have the counter tabling for the Unfuck America Tour, and that really pissed me off. Especially because we have some really good people that could be on campus to counter program that.
Why didn't they have the counter tabling? Because nobody wanted to debate me because they knew they'd get crushed. We had the approval for this, by the way. I think like on the 11th, like a week and a half ago. They confirmed our event. So that's kind of,
Yeah, no, to answer your question, my husband isn't there to say whether or not we should be at war with Iran. I would love for him to be here right now and tell us if we should or should not. I would love it. I miss his voice more than anyone in this world. And, you know, it's frustrating when you have people speaking for him. I have a sentiment for that. But thank the good Lord that we have a bunch of his videos that we can look back on. And it's like chapters like this, I have to commend you. This is amazing. All of you guys sitting here together having...
Is this Erica Kirk? Yes. Apparently she was at ASU 2 nights ago?
Sports dialogue. That's what Turning Point USA is about. And that's what I wanted to continue. So when you ask what's our stance on the war, what's our stance on that, I actually would prefer that we have these types of discussions where our stance is on freedom of speech. And I want you guys to all continue to just...
Well, I retweeted. This isn't what Charlie would have wanted, guys. Cringe. Oh! Oh my god, he's in Cuba! You can tell, because he's got the hat on. And the shirt. This is freaking epic. He has to get pictures with some of the people there. If he doesn't get pictures with people there, I don't think he went to Cuba. I think he's in he either is at some other island or he just went to some hotel somewhere and he's just chilling. Do you see Bad Up and Out on Cuba is trying to stalk him? Get the geolocator guy on the job. Get the geolocator guy. Where is he? Okay.
When the Iranian Navy is sunk and the missile launchers are destroyed and we have re-obliterated the nuclear infrastructure, do we declare victory and sail away? How do we feel about a new supreme leader who is more extreme and vicious and dedicated to the development of a nuclear weapon than the last one? Do we do a deal with him? How do we get him to open the Strait of Hormuz? Do we bomb more? And if we sail away and declare victory, are we back there 9 months from now to resink a rebuilt Navy and rebomb rebuilt missile launchers? Is this going to be an every 9-month thing, or is it going to be annual?
True.
The very core purpose of the intelligence community is to answer these questions for the president, for us, and for the American people. Right now, as we watch the dignified transfer of lost American patriots at Dover, as we watch gasoline approach $5 a gallon,
it's not good.
As we watch our allies mocking us on the world stage, we need to know.
I thought they respected
us. Were those questions asked? How did you answer them for the President of the United States? And did he listen? I understand that the administration may come to the Congress to ask for funding of $200 billion for this war.
Damn, that's a lot of money.
As you answered those questions for us today, I'd ask you to remember that old saying, if you want me there for the landing, make sure I'm there at the takeoff.
Wow, deep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
3 deep, 5 years.
Thank the gentleman for his comments. Before I turn it over to Director Gabbard, I would like to thank General Hartman for nearly 4 decades of service. I know you're retiring, I think, tomorrow. You are here. I just applaud your service to this nation and your leadership at the NSA, and thank you and wish you all the best in your retirement.
Thank you, Chairman. I think tomorrow as well.
All right. Thank you. Director Gabbard, you're recognized.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Good morning,
Gab.
Chairman Crawford, Ranking Member Himes, members. I'm here today to present the 2026 Annual Threat Assessment and joined by my colleagues, the directors of the CIA, the DIA, FBI, and NSA. This briefing is being provided in accordance with ODNI's statutory responsibility. What I'm briefing here today does not represent my personal views or opinions, but rather the assessments of the intelligence community of the threats that facing the United States, our homeland, and our interests. In this assessment, we're following the structure of priorities that were laid out in the President's national security strategy, starting with threats to our homeland, then shifting to global risks. The defense of our homeland is of the utmost importance to the American people, and efforts by this administration over the last year to bolster homeland defense have yielded significantly positive results. For example, the strict enforcement of U.S. policies at the U.S.-Mexico border and regionally have served as a deterrent and drastically reduced illegal immigration. Based on Customs and Border Patrol data, January 2026's monthly encounters are down 83.8% compared to January of 2025. The drivers of migration are likely to continue. Potential worsening instability in countries like Cuba and Haiti risk triggering migration surges. Smugglers who often operate as transnational criminal organizations view chaos as an opportunity for profit and will likely continue to profit from these illegal immigration flows. These TCOs continue to pose a daily and direct threat to the health and safety of millions of U.S. citizens, primarily by producing and trafficking in illegal drugs. Under President Trump's leadership, fentanyl overdose deaths have seen a 30% decrease from September of 2024 to September of 2025. His aggressive efforts to more directly and actively target these transnational criminal organizations and reduce the inflow of fentanyl precursors has already had a significant
How are we going to power the
impact, which
fent
is likely to
reactors?
continue.
If we're not getting any more.
Mexico-based transnational criminal organizations like the Sinaloa cartel and Jalisco New Gen.
Notice I should compare it specifically to January 25th. Wait, what do you mean by that? What's the significance of that? Reporting to CENTCOM. True. Oh, you mean January 2025? Okay.
Generation cartel dominate the production and smuggling of fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine into the United States. Colombia-based TCOs and illegal armed groups like the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia and the National Liberation Army are responsible for producing and trafficking large volumes of cocaine into the U.S. and European markets, with some indicators that they are now attempting to expand to the Asia-Pacific region.
Damn.
Colombia remains the world's largest producer of cocaine, and Colombian criminal groups have expanded their trafficking relationships with neighboring Ecuadorian and Brazilian gangs. MS-13 is well established in cells in the United States and uses violence to intimidate the Salvadoran diaspora, engaging in murder, extortion, retail drug trafficking, firearms offenses, and prostitution, fueling increased violence and instability. These and other TCOs present a very tangible and individualized risk of violent crime to everyday Americans and contribute to regional instability. As the president increases counter-drug and counter-cartel pressures, they are likely to seek ways to try to adapt their operations, including shifting and decentralizing production locations and trafficking routes and methods. The United States continues to face a complex and evolving threat landscape with a geographically diverse set of Islamist terrorist actors seeking to propagate their ideology globally and harm Americans.
Not good.
Even as Al-Qaeda and ISIS organizationally remain weaker today.
Hassan claims that he flew to Miami, then flew in a fully chartered plane to Cuba. The one that we just saw, or are there multiple fully chartered planes leaving today to Cuba? Because he would definitely have been in that video. Unless he's like telling people like, start the video here. I don't want to be on anybody's social media, which would be funny in and of itself, but he said it was full of activists and politicians. Okay. We'll watch some later. I don't need a play-by-play of everything going on Hassan's stream. Thank you, though.
They were at their respective peaks. The spread of Islamist ideology, in some cases led by individuals and organizations associated with the Muslim Brotherhood, pose a fundamental threat to freedom and foundational principles that underpin Western civilization.
We've got a
These
tweet?
Islamist groups and individuals use this ideology for recruiting and financial
So
support
he
for
is in
terrorist
Cuba.
groups
Okay.
and individuals around the world, and to advance their political objectives of establishing an Islamist caliphate which governs based on Sharia. There are increasing examples of this in various European countries. President Trump's designation of certain chapters of the Muslim Brotherhood as foreign terrorist organizations is a mechanism to secure Americans against this threat. In response to setbacks of their capabilities of conducting large-scale complex attacks, the IC assesses that Islamist terrorist groups have shifted towards focusing on executing information operations to spread propaganda and inspire or enable individuals located in or with access to the West. U.S. counterterrorism operations are ongoing, primarily in Iraq, Somalia, Yemen, and Syria, and have removed key terrorist leaders and operatives, degrading the ability of Al-Qaeda and ISIS to quickly reconstitute its leadership and launch large-scale attacks against the homeland.
The homeland?
Strict U.S. border enforcement measures and increased deportations of individuals with suspected links to Islamist terrorists have reduced access to the homeland and removed some potential sources of future terror attacks. Since January, U.S. officials have only had a handful of encounters at our borders with individuals associated with terrorist groups. This is a positive trend. However, our interagency coordinated efforts to identify, locate, and remove known or suspected terrorists who are already in the U.S. continues with vigilance.
Okay.
In 2025, there were at least 3 Islamist terrorist attacks in the U.S. Law enforcement disrupted at least 15 U.S.-based Islamist terrorist plotters. Roughly half of last year's...
In 2025, there were at least... She said there were 3 Islamist attacks in the U.S. What is she referring to here? I know we had the... Are we just accounting everybody that was anywhere near associated with Muslim or Islam shit? Like, there was the one where the 2 National Guard people were shot and killed. But, like, do we know... Was that, like, an Islamist thing or whatever? Or... The New Orleans thing? I don't even remember the New Orleans thing. Fuck me. List of terrorist incidents in 2025. Your keyboard is so not balanced. I can tell it's not. I can tell it's rocking.
It is, man.
I can tell it's rocking. I can tell it's rocking. I hate you.
It's because my mic is on the desk.
No, I hate you. A 42-year-old man inspired by the Islamic State drove a rented... Oh, okay. That counts, I guess. Damn, I don't even remember this. January 1st, killing 14 people. This was 3 months ago? No, this was a year and 3 months ago. Not good.
Or you.
What? And then what are the
What was
other...
your question?
When she says 3 Islamist terrorist attacks in 2025, I'm curious what she's referring to. Jesus.
The one on Austin Street?
A car bomb detonated at the entrance of a fertility clinic in Palm Springs, California, killing 1 person and injuring 4 others. Was this a guy who... He was the only... Oh. The perpetrator was identified as Guy Edwards Bartkus, a 25-year-old man from 29 Palms, California. He was the only person killed in the attack. Yikes, dipshit. And his motive stemmed from ideologies that included an anti-pro-life ideology, as well as pro-mortalist and anti-natalist beliefs. Okay, Jesus. The anti-natalists are out here doing terror attacks? Pro-mortalism, a philosophical belief that holds that it is better for being to die rather than continue living. Okay. Jesus. If I recall, he didn't want to kill anyone. Well, he did. Boulder, Colorado, United States. Mohammed Sabri Solomon, a male Egyptian living in Colorado, allegedly used a makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktails to attack a group participating in a solidarity walk for hostages taken from Israel during the October 7th attack. What are the 3 terrorists? 3 Islamist terrorist attacks. Okay, I don't know. Whatever.
Disrupted plotters had some online contact with Islamist terrorists inspired by Islamist foreign terrorist organizations abroad. Al-Qaeda and ISIS pose the biggest threat to U.S. interests overseas in parts of Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, where these groups operate. In the Middle East, AQAP in Yemen, ISIS-K in South Asia, and ISIS in Syria are among the most likely groups conducting external plotting.
What?
ISIS in Syria specifically is likely seeking to rebuild its ranks, expand support networks, and solicit funds by re-engaging with and recruiting from the likely hundreds of ISIS detainees and thousands of ISIS-linked women and children who escaped or were released from prisons and displaced persons camps. Meanwhile, state actors present a risk broader in scope by seeking new capabilities in kinetic and cyber warfare. The U.S. secure nuclear deterrent continues to ensure safety in the homeland against strategic threats. However, the IC assesses that Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and Pakistan have been researching and developing an array of novel, advanced, or traditional missile delivery systems with nuclear and conventional payloads that put our homeland within range. The IC assesses that threats to the homeland will expand collectively to more than 16,000 missiles by 2035, from the current assessed figure of more than 3,000 missiles. The IC assesses that China and Russia are developing advanced delivery systems meant to be capable of penetrating or bypassing U.S. missile defenses. North Korea's ICBMs can already reach U.S. soil. The IC assesses that it is committed to expanding its nuclear arsenal. Pakistan's long-range ballistic missile development potentially could include ICBMs with range capable of striking the homeland. The IC assesses that Iran has previously demonstrated space launch and other technology it could use to begin to develop a militarily viable ICBM before 2035, should Tehran attempt to pursue the capability. However, these assessments will be observed and updated as the full impact of Operation Epic Fury's devastating strikes on Iran's missile production facilities, stockpiles, and launch capabilities is determined. Shifting to the cyber domain, the IC assesses that China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and non-state ransomware groups will continue to seek to compromise U.S. government and private sector networks, as well as critical infrastructure, to collect intelligence and create options for future disruption and for financial gain. The IC assesses China and Russia present the most persistent and active threats and are continuing R&D efforts. North Korea's cyber program is sophisticated and agile. In 2025 alone, North Korea's cryptocurrency heist probably stole $2 billion, which is helping to fund the regime, including further development of its strategic weapons program. Financially or ideologically motivated non-state actors are becoming more bold, with ransomware groups shifting to faster, high-volume attacks that are harder to identify and mitigate. Innovation in the field of artificial intelligence will likely accelerate the threats in the cyber domain. They will increasingly shape cyber operations, with both cyber operators and defenders using these tools to improve their speed and effectiveness. For example, in August of 2025, cyber actors used an AI tool to conduct data extortion against international government.
Cyber actors? You mean VTubers? Get it?
Government, healthcare, and public health emergency service sectors, and religious institutions. Shifting to the Arctic, the IC assesses that Russia, and to a lesser extent China, aim to strengthen their presence in the region through increased maritime trade, natural resource extraction, and military activity. Russia, which has the longest coastline in the Arctic, has long sought recognition of its quote-unquote polar great power status and is deploying more military forces and building new permanent infrastructure. China, though not an Arctic country, is engaged in more limited efforts in the region to advance its strategic and economic interests. On the technology front, artificial intelligence capabilities are rapidly advancing and changing the threat landscape. As this is a defining technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human learning, comprehension, problem-solving, creativity, and autonomy, it'll be critical to ensure that humans remain in control of how AI is used and of the machines that may threaten to autonomously violate the interests of the American people across all domains. The IC assesses that China is the most capable competitor in this field and aims to displace the U.S. as the global AI leader by 2030. AI adoption at scale across the spectrum of usage poses serious risks. AI has the potential to aid in weapons and systems design and has been used in recent conflicts to influence targeting and streamline decision-making, underscoring the risk and likely threats that could manifest on the battlefield. Early developers in quantum computers will give countries an extraordinary technological advantage over others to quickly process national security information and break current encryption methodology used to protect sensitive finance, healthcare, and government information.
Damn.
The global security landscape is volatile and complex, with armed conflict growing more common and posing potential threats against U.S. interests. The space domain is becoming increasingly contested, with China and Russia developing counter-space capabilities to challenge U.S. space efforts. The threat of nuclear proliferation and advancing chemical and biological warfare capabilities continues to grow. Turn now to the Western Hemisphere, where flagging economies, high crime rates, pervasive organized crime, migration flows, corruption, and narcotics trafficking present a broad spectrum of risks to U.S. interests, and where strategic competitors seek to gain greater influence in the region. The IC assesses that Latin America and the Caribbean almost certainly will see hotspots of volatility in the coming year, with the potential to undermine or distract some countries from improving economies and living conditions and tackling illicit drug flows and cartels. The U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement review in 2026 will likely increase uncertainty in many Latin American countries, especially those that rely on Mexico as an export destination for intermediate goods for manufacture and onward export to the U.S. China, Russia, and Iran are seeking to sustain economic, political, and military engagement with Latin America. The IC assesses that China's demand for raw materials is likely to drive continued economic outreach, while Russia likely wants to expand its current security and diplomatic ties with Cuba and Nicaragua. The IC assesses that China aims to elevate its own political, economic, military, and technological power to increase its own regional positioning, global influence, and to fend off threats to their interests. While there are challenging areas where interests diverge, President Trump's diplomatic engagements with President Xi have enabled progress on areas where mutual interests align. The IC assesses that China continues to rapidly modernize its military forces across all domains in pursuit of its goal to achieve world-class status by mid-century. This includes building a force with the aim of being capable of deterring U.S. and allied forces in the region, and to achieve their stated objective of having the capability to seize Taiwan by force if necessary. However, the IC assesses that China likely prefers to set the conditions for an eventual peaceful reunification with Taiwan short of conflict.
That's just how she sounds.
An increasingly confident North Korean regime remains a source of concern regionally and globally. Its weapons of mass destruction, conventional military capabilities, illicit cyber activities, and demonstrated willingness to use asymmetric capabilities poses a threat to the U.S. and its allies, particularly South Korea and Japan. North Korea's partnership with Russia is growing, And in 2025, Kim took steps to improve ties with China, still North Korea's most important trading partner and economic benefactor. The IC assesses that North Korea's support for Russia in the war against Ukraine has increased North Korean capabilities as their forces have gained combat experience in 21st century warfare, along with equipment. Pyongyang continues to develop and expand its strategic weapons programs, including missiles that can evade U.S. and regional missile defenses. Russia retains the capability to selectively challenge U.S. interests globally by military and non-military means. The IC assesses that the most dangerous threat posed by Russia to the U.S. is an escalatory spiral in an ongoing conflict such as Ukraine, or a new conflict that led to direct hostilities, including the deployment of nuclear weapons. The IC assesses that Putin continues to invest in Russia's defense industrial base, as well as novel capabilities that may pose a greater threat to the U.S. homeland and forces abroad than conventional weapons. The IC assesses Russia has advanced systems, hypersonic missiles, and undersea capabilities designed to negate U.S. military advantage. Russia is also building extensive counter-space capabilities to contest U.S. space dominance. Its development of a nuclear counter-space weapon poses the greatest single threat to the world's space architecture. During the past year, the IC posed capabilities to contest U.S. Russia is also building extensive counter-space capabilities to contest U.S. space dominance. Its development of a nuclear counter-space weapon poses the greatest single threat to the world's space architecture. During the past year, the IC assesses that Russia has maintained the upper hand in its war against Ukraine. Ongoing U.S.-led negotiations between Moscow and Kyiv continue. Until such an agreement is met, if an agreement is found, Moscow is likely to continue fighting a slow war of attrition until they view their objectives have been achieved. In the Middle East, conflict and instability will shape security, political, and economic dynamics in a variety of ways. The IC assesses that Operation Epic Fury is advancing fundamental change in the region that began with Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7, 2023, continued with the 12-day war last year, resulting in weakening Iran and its proxies. The IC assesses that the regime in Iran appears to be intact, but largely degraded due to attacks by Israel and the U.S. on its leadership and military capabilities. Its conventional military power projection capabilities have largely been destroyed, leaving limited options. Iran's strategic position has been significantly degraded. The U.S.-led maximum pressure campaign and snapback of European sanctions added additional pressure to an already bleak Iranian economy, resulting in mass protest and with advancing fundamental change in economic dynamics and objectives have been achieved. If an agreement is found, negotiations between Moscow and Kyiv continue. Until such an agreement is met, if an agreement is found, Moscow is likely to continue fighting a slow war of attrition until they view their objectives have been achieved. In the Middle East, conflict and instability will shape security, political, and economic dynamics in a variety of ways. The IC assesses that Operation Epic Fury is advancing fundamental change in the region that began with Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7, 2023, continued with the 12-day war last year, resulting in weakening Iran and its proxies. The IC assesses that the regime in Iran appears to be intact, but largely degraded due to attacks by Israel and the U.S. on its leadership and military capabilities. Its conventional military power projection capabilities have largely been destroyed, leaving limited options. Iran's strategic position has been significantly degraded. The U.S.-led maximum pressure campaign and snapback of European sanctions added additional pressure to an already bleak Iranian economy, resulting in mass protests earlier this year that Tehran suppressed by killing thousands of protesters. Even if the regime remains intact, internal tensions are likely to increase as Iran's economy worsens. Even so, Iran and its proxies continue to attack U.S. and allied interests in the Middle East. If a hostile regime survives, it will likely seek to begin a years-long effort to rebuild its military, missiles, and UAV forces. Prior to Operation Epic Fury, the IC assesses Iran was trying to recover from the severe damage to its nuclear infrastructure sustained during the 12-day war. Iran maintained the intention to rebuild its infrastructure and nuclear enrichment capability and continued to refuse to comply with its nuclear obligations with the IAEA, refusing them access to key facilities. The IC assesses that China, Russia, and North Korea see the United States as a strategic competitor and potential adversary. Iran has long viewed the U.S. as an adversary and is engaged in active conflict with the U.S. as of this writing. These four countries are likely to continue their selective cooperation with each other, which could bolster their individual capabilities and threats to U.S. interests more broadly. However, currently these relationships are primarily bilateral on selective issues and depend on broader circumstances, divergent sovereign interests, and in some cases concerns over directly confronting the U.S. These factors are likely to constrain their relationships. Finally, conflicts on the continent of Africa are likely to persist through 2026 due to poor governance, economic demands, and external support. Tensions continue between Ethiopia and Eritrea, which could rapidly accelerate to conflict. Contentious national and federal elections in Somalia could distract the federal government away from counterterrorism actions against al-Shabaab, which continues to conduct terror attacks while providing funding and propaganda support to other elements of al-Qaeda in Yemen. The civil war in Sudan continues even as external negotiations occur, and ISIS in West Africa and the Sahel have increased the intensity of their attacks against local security forces, expanding their areas of operation and moving closer to cities with a U.S. presence. African governments will use their wealth and critical minerals to seek partnerships that deliver them meaningful benefit. Concurrent conflicts and crises across the continent will continue to put U.S. citizens at risk and cause further instability. In closing, as leaders of the intelligence community, we remain committed to providing the President and policymakers with timely, unbiased, relevant intelligence to ensure the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Director Gabbard. We appreciate that. We'll now move to member questions, 5-minute increments. With that, I recognize myself for 5 minutes. Director Patel, our state and local officials are on the front lines of increasingly dangerous, unrestricted warfare activities being undertaken by Chinese nationals, such as marijuana grow operations protected by armed militants, secret police stations engaged in transnational repression, Chinese-operated sim farm sites, crypto mining facilities, and land purchases near strategic locations. The CCP is exploiting legal gray areas and the lack of awareness at the state and local level to establish strategic footholds. 2 states, in fact, New Hampshire and Florida, are now advancing legislation to establish offices of counterintelligence, which would bolster states' ability to confront foreign adversaries without relying on the federal government. Do you support that? What can be done to better support the states and local officials?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have infused funding into our entire program taking on the CCP. And while we are well versed in the fact that we have our capabilities with folks like CFIUS when it comes to the purchases of land around.
What?
PvP? Stella?
Maybe later? I gotta focus. I gotta lock in on this fucking thing.
Okay.
Military bases, that only extends 1 mile under the current law. So the FBI had to get creative. So what we did was directly engage with our state and local partners. And I'll give you.
What the fuck do I have? Oh my god, this. Clav responded.
All right, let's
Chicken
see.
biryani?
Yep, exactly. Destiny is trying to interview. Dude, Destiny fell off.
Let's get it. What's the prize? I don't know, Chad.
Where's Destiny even stream?
How you doing?
Fall off
Doing
mod.
grill. Bro, McD, by the way,
You're like
can I tell
political?
you something, McD?
Yes,
I thought you were like a fat Mexican.
Honestly,
It's because I have a woman's name. Rip.
2 examples. 400-acre farm in the state of Texas was owned by a CCP official, but because he was outside the reach of the CFIUS law, the FBI executed a unlawful possession of firearms, a criminal complaint, and received it. We seized the land in its entirety, and that CCP national is back in mainland China, and we are working to get him back here. In another example, off the coast of Louisiana, we worked with Governor Landry's team on drilling sites off the coast of Louisiana because, again, they were outside the whole of CFIUS in the 1-mile radius, and with the intelligence we were able to provide our state and local authorities, they shut down that CCP drilling center, which we believed was actually used to provide and steal data and intelligence from American lives. So that's just a little bit of an example. On the marijuana grow houses, we have 6 active ongoing investigations in 6 multiple jurisdictions for specifically taking.
Did we ever actually change the structure of TikTok? Because I know they basically axed the TikTok ban bill that we even got a Supreme Court ruling to ban, and now they brag about saving TikTok. Do they still operate as a dual entity, or what happened? I don't know what even changed formally with the organization of that company. I don't remember.
CCP affiliated grow houses from Maine to Georgia and across the country.
So it sounds like, from your characterization of CFIUS, it's inadequate at this point. Maybe we could do something legislatively here in this body to provide some broader authority to address that challenge.
I would love that.
Okay, great, excellent, thank you. Director Ratcliffe, in January 2021, in your role at DNI as the director, you sent this committee a letter outlining your concerns about an intelligence community assessment in which, among other things, analysts tailored their analysis towards a preferred policy outcome. CIA management pressured analysts to withdraw their support from an alternative viewpoint, and the full body of intelligence reporting wasn't considered. Now, in your role as CIA director, you have retracted several reports for political bias and not meeting IC analytic standards. That's good progress. Retracting faulty reporting is a critical step, but I remain concerned about that it maybe doesn't get to the root of the problem. How many analysts were involved in the products you recently retracted?
I don't know the specific number, Chairman.
What remediation actions have taken place as a result?
Well, I've made the focus of, as you pointed out, both as DNI and now as CIA director, focused on the importance of analytic objectivity. As you pointed out, when I was the DNI, when I saw conduct from Russia and China, the exact same conduct result in different assessments, that's not a good reflection on the analytic judgments. Now, when I was the DNI, when I saw conduct from Russia and China, the exact same conduct result in different assessments, that's not a good reflection on the analytic judgments.
Ratcliffe is not a retard, right? We don't think Ratcliffe is retarded? I just haven't listened to opinions he's given out too many things, other than just knowing generally about him. He is, he's not. Just because 2 different countries have the same action, why would you necessarily view those the same? I mean, the 2 different countries can have different histories and there's different context. There must be something he's saying here that I'm just not understanding or whatever, maybe.
Actions have taken place as a result.
Well, I've made the focus of, as you pointed out, both as DNI and now as CIA director, focused on the importance of analytic objectivity. As you pointed out, when I was the DNI, when I saw conduct from Russia and China, the exact same conduct result in different assessments, that's not a good reflection on the analytic judgments.
What you debate Mullally for what? Where?
Reference in my role as CIA director, withdrawing reports that we went back and looked that didn't reflect analytic standards that we would expect, I retracted those judgments because they show bias and influence for political reasons or otherwise. So that has continued to be a focus and will be. I think that message has been received within our analytic community within the CIA and really across the CIA, because this administration has put a focus on taking politics out of our analytic judgments.
Excellent. Thank you, Director. Appreciate that. I want to, as I made clear in my opening statement, I'm trying to get this done in the little time that I have remaining. The intelligence community assessment on AHI is deeply flawed, and I've called for its recall immediately to start for a fresh start, similar to my question in last year's session. But I'd like to get a yes or no answer from each of you on whether you agree this ICA should be retracted. Director Gabbard?
Yes.
Director Ratcliffe?
Say it again.
You called the flotilla thing. Wait, what?
So as far as the boat situation goes, we were originally going to do a boat. We were originally going to do a flotilla. But then the situation is fluid. The reason why we didn't do the flotilla is because from America, it's much more difficult to pull off a flotilla. And we could bring more aid this way. So we packed.
I don't understand that saying. You guys are saying, well, they switched to a convoy because more people. How do you bring more aid via plane than boat? Why aren't we just flying all of the oil out of over the Strait of Hormuz then? Why don't we just fly everything? In what way does this make sense? Also, why do you have to leave from the United States? Aren't there a few other countries around here that you could theoretically leave from?
The fucking cargo plane filled to the brim.
Wait.
With a flotilla. But then
You flew in a cargo plane? What does that mean?
the situation is fluid. The reason why we didn't do the flotilla is because from America, it's much more difficult to pull off a flotilla. And we could bring more aid this way. So we packed a fucking cargo plane filled to the brim with aid, and we flew it. We flew it instead. The reason why?
Where are the pictures? I feel like if there were people involved, just think about the people. Like, your activists tend to be younger. They're very online. Like, I feel like they would be super excited to share this, unless there's some big OPSEC reason why they can't. Why would you not have pictures of people? Are there? Maybe there are. There was that one picture he posted with a woman, and I didn't know that. Are there pictures of this somewhere? I feel like he'd be posting pictures everywhere. Here's us packing in the aid. This is what the Cuban people have asked for. This is the... Okay.
The reason why I was a little bit evasive about like how we were going to go, I'll tell you now that I'm here, and there's not like, I can't reveal everything to you all the time. I know that you guys are like you're very used to me being like super forthcoming and super transparent with everything. But the reason why I didn't want to reveal what we were doing exactly was for OPSEC. Nothing that we're doing is illegal, obviously, but it doesn't matter because like people, when they find out exactly what the plans are, might try to like fuck it up.
OPSEC? Bro, you have transponders on anything that's in the air or in the sea. What is he talking about? Does he think is he doing like a fucking, what were they called, halo jumps or whatever from planes? Is this like the Dark Knight where they're paratroopering into, what the fuck? Why is this fucking retard talking like he's in the CIA? It was a fluid situation. We needed OPSEC so we can't tell people we're flying on our civilian airliners. What?
Do you understand? Because like in order to do this, like, and this took long ass planning, okay? This took a long ass time.
To fly planes to Havana? What do you mean?
To put together, shouts out to Progressive International, shouts out to Code Pink, Answer Coalition. Like, they've been working on this nonstop, and I've been trying to help out to the best of my ability. But like, you know, when like we had to keep certain things under wraps. Like you can't just like deliver humanitarian aid to Cuba without getting approval, clearance from the American government, mind you, because you could go to Cuba right now. Remember, you come to Cuba right now. You could fly to Cuba right now and have a wonderful time. It's just that obviously there's limitations to what you can and can't do, born out of the American government's ridiculous restrictions, right? But if we were just out and about talking about what we were, our plans, I was worried that someone might like
true Cuban internet.
Someone might actually interfere.
Wait, is he just in the hotel?
Does that make sense? Do you understand?
But he said he's just going to be doing normal streams, so I imagine all of them are going to be hotel streams.
Bye-bye, have a beautiful time.
Well, then who gives a fuck?
It is one of the most beautiful places. It is one of the most.
How do you even know if he's in Havana?
Straight up.
Because there was a picture of him in the airport with a lady earlier.
Don't you think? It's like it's literally, it is straight up. Cuba relies on tourism for a major part of the economy, right? I have an awkward white American feels going there while we're trying to kill them, brother. Yes, you come here. Okay. Also, there's no guns here. Anyway.
How do you see the video stats?
Yeah, I just realized I was also looking like this. So with the fucking wad, if it wasn't a fan, I would have been cooked. Now that I think about it, if it wasn't a fan, they'd be like, "You're a fucking drug dealer." What the hell is this outfit?
7.5 megabit per second stream. Holy shit. What is the average internet in Cuba? Average internet bandwidth connection Cuba. Do you think Havana has the best? Let's see. Cuba's mobile and broadband internet speeds. Download 3.86 megabits per second. Upload 0.92 megabits per second. How is he streaming at 7 megabits per second? Oh, hold on. We have some picture. 1 second. Or video. God damn it. I don't trust any fucking videos. That is not like old footage. I can't imagine they would do that though, right? That would be so stupid.
Entender a las personas de Europa lo que pasaba en Cuba, porque ellos no tenían una percepción real de lo che stava passando.
Faremo delle cose tutti insieme con della gente, adesso arriviamo un po' da Milano, un po' da Roma, un po' dall'Europa e quindi incontreremo anche il popolo cubano e doneremo questi farmaci anche proprio in alcuni progetti specifici che visiteremo.
Nos hemos unido todos y todos han estado conmigo, sobre todo en Milán, recogiendo medicina, insumos y donaciones para que lleguen esos nuevos insumos médicos, aseo personal, alimentos para que lleguen
Oh,
a la isla.
there we go. We have videos of some things.
Porque los pueblos han despertado y se han dado cuenta que Cuba es el faro y que si Cuba cae, cae América Latina y cae el mundo.
La solidaridad de Europa. Europa se despertó y comprendí lo que pasa en Cuba. En los últimos días, mucha gente, mucha más de lo que es posible, quería donar dinero, medicamentos, qué se puede hacer. ¡Viva Cuba! ¡Viva!
Hold on, these guys have a boat they're loading up. Flotilla prepares to take 30 tons of aid to Cuba.
On our way
So they didn't take a flotilla?
Well, this must be loading a boat. That's a boat, I think, right? Yeah.
Where's Hassan?
He had to fly, bro.
Oh, makes sense.
What is what are these things?
in Mexico on our
TVs, big screens. I'm just kidding.
way to Cuba. We're loading this boat behind me with tons of aid in the form of solar panels, medical supplies, and food.
Oh.
This is part of the Nostra America convoy where hundreds of thousands of people have donated, have mobilized.
Do solar panels, if everything is fucked, or so, why do I feel like I remember Puerto Ricans complaining about solar panel shit? That like they don't have, oh, fuck, I feel like I remember this. I don't remember. It should be in a good solar zone, right? That boat left from the Yucatan yesterday. If you have nothing, I feel like solar panels are probably better than nothing. They probably don't have batteries. Well, I think just having power is probably good, right?
Many of whom are going to be in Havana meeting us when we get off the boat. They've already been on the ground there distributing aid, meeting with local people, and seeing how the U.S. blockade and the recent escalation of withholding fuel is affecting the people there. Myself, as someone from the United States, my tax dollars are going to these policies, the billions that we send for war, the $1 trillion Pentagon budget, the bombs that are dropped in Iran and Lebanon, the ongoing genocide in Palestine, economic warfare in Cuba and Venezuela, it has to end. The war is also coming at home with the militarization of our streets, when yet we can use that money for healthcare and for housing. This convoy goes to show how quickly people mobilized and how much people power can meet the needs of people, but at the same time, we have to continue to pressure our government to end these cruel policies, whether they're bombs that drop or sanctions that go on. We need to fight for climate justice.
I know we're clowning on us not for this, but flotilla/humanitarian aid from America and Americans to Cubans in theory is a good thing in order to flip the Cuban populace to our side, right? Not so. My historical understanding of these things, and by that I just mean a lot of them having to do with. Oh no, actually, I think it happened with Bolivia, as well as with Gaza a ton. Is usually the flotillas are activist missions that are sometimes used to. They're generally these are seen as like activist things. Like it's not. I don't think it's generally seen as like actually helpful aid. Now you can argue that it brings awareness or something to the issue with us embargoing stuff going into Cuba. The only problem, the thing that sucks, is that all these people just hate the West and hate America. So they're not like there's no real like policy change or anything that these types of people can effect because they're kind of disconnected. I can't speak to Code Pink, but for people like Asana, they're disconnected from our political system anyway. Unfortunately, yeah. This is March 20th. Code Pink delegation departs for Cuba, carrying over 6,000 pounds of humanitarian aid. Wait, what happened? A ton is 2,000 pounds, right? Am I making that up? Or is there a different type of ton? So 3 tons. Well, it's kind of like 30 tons. Huh. More than $400,000 for humanitarian supplies on a charter flight, including medical equipment, medicines, staple foods, infant nutrition products, and hygiene supplies. $500K worth of solar panels and generators to support hospitals. 2,000 pounds of medical supplies from Europe. Cancer medicines. Around 1,100 pounds of medical supplies from Brazil. Solar-powered equipment for Colombia. Menstrual health kits for 1,300 women. 100,000 in aid for maternity centers.
Why don't we send them a flotilla full of guns so they can, you know?
Yeah, we'll even tell them that we'll go help them.
Yeah, we'll help them out.
We tried that once. Well, the problem is who are the guns for? The issue is technically, I think the American government here, it's not like the Cuban government is
why do we have an embargo with Cuba right now? Is it really back from the fucking
I don't know.
Cold War?
Trump just hates Cuba. I don't know why. It's fucking retarded. I have no idea why. It's stupid as fuck. But there's no salience for Americans. Americans don't think at all about Cuba, except for Cubans who hate Cuba, so.
Again, the question
ICA?
Yeah, so for the ICA, I understand that Director Gabbard is reviewing that, and I've deferred all AHI investigations to her review. So if in her judgment that is something that should be retracted, then I would agree with that.
Yes. Okay, Director Patel?
Yes.
Thank you. General Hartman?
Yes.
And General Adams?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you all for your responses. I'm going to recognize the ranking member for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Director Gabbard, as was well covered yesterday in January, you were present at the execution of an FBI warrant at the Fulton County, Georgia election office at the direction of the president and to all appearances in connection with the president's false claims about the 2020 election. The unsealed affidavit submitted by the FBI made zero reference to foreign powers or outside interference. I don't want to relitigate the reasons why you were there, but I do want to know whether, as a result of your visit, there is credible intelligence in your possession pointing to foreign interference in Georgia in the 2020 election.
Thank you for the question, Ranking Member. As you know, over each of the previous elections, there is an ongoing effort by different foreign entities.
Ma'am, it's a very specific question.
Is there
intelligence in your possession relative to foreign interference in the 2020 elections? Very simple, straightforward question.
We are continuing to look at previous attempts to interfere in our elections and any ongoing threats that may exist for the upcoming elections.
Okay, but can I assume that the answer to my question is no, that you have no specific intelligence related to foreign meddling in the Georgia election?
The 3 tons is exactly the amount that could be flown on a flight with passengers. Without passengers, it's 30 tons that can be hauled. The planes that are used for this are Type 733 and B734 on flight radar, and then he's pointing out 3 flights. Okay, so they basically chartered a commercial, you wouldn't say residential, right? You would just say chartered a commercial flight to Cuba and then put as much as they could in storage, basically?
We are continuing to look into this matter.
Okay. Director, the ODNI has confirmed on the record that your office took custody of voting machines from Puerto Rico last May. I'm not aware of any previous DNI taking similar actions. Did your office promptly notify the committee about taking custody of Puerto Rico's voting machines?
I don't believe we did. However, this was done at the request of the Puerto Rico AUSA attorney.
Ma'am, it's a yes or no question.
The
The answer, as you have acknowledged, is no. You did not inform the committee about the taking of a territory's voting machines. Is there a specific foreign threat? And I've read the...
Ooh, I'm slowing this down to 1.25. I do think it's noteworthy, and you can still hate Tulsi Gabbard. I know I do. But it sounds like she is like heavily pawning all of this off onto the executive branch, onto the White House. I should say more specifically.
She answers questions.
Yeah. But it's like, because what she just said there, she just said that we did it at the behest of a U.S. attorney or whatever. So if she's doing like intelligence-related stuff, I don't think they need the Department of Justice or like the DOJ or whatever ordering them around. They would do this as part of like intelligence operations. So the fact that that's not what's happening, and the fact that it's like the executive branch that's like bossing them around to go do things, like is heavily pointing to the fact that there is no intelligence supporting any of this stuff.
Reporting that you were looking for possible foreign threats, but is there a specific foreign threat that drove you to take this action?
There were questions about whether or not there were vulnerabilities that a threat could have taken advantage of, and that was the purpose for their requesting us to look into those vulnerabilities.
Where are those voting machines now?
I believe they are held in a secure facility at ODNI.
Have you or other ODNI officials taken any other state or territory's voting equipment into custody?
Not to my knowledge.
I want to turn on the subject of elections to a paradoxical thing. You will all be aware that the U.S. government is apparently going to grind to a halt. The president is going to sign no more bills. The Senate will spend 2 weeks apparently debating the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act, of course, would make illegal foreigners voting in U.S. elections, which is already illegal. So we are to do no more business because of apparently the existential threat to our democracy associated with foreigners voting in our elections. I am therefore puzzled by the fact that neither the unclassified nor the classified threat assessment makes any reference to risk or danger associated with foreigners voting in our elections.
Gotcha, John.
Director Patel, how many non-citizens have been convicted of voting in U.S. elections in the last 10 years?
The conviction stats are with the Department of Justice. I defer to them on that.
You are the...
Oh, shit, he's about to say... Okay, because sometimes I wonder if I'm retarded here. Like, the FBI is considered like a sub-part of the Department of Justice, right? Or is it a totally separate thing? Is it considered an inferior office or its whole other thing? But he might just say it.
Director of the...
Conviction stats were with the Department of Justice. I defer to them on that.
You are the director of the FBI. Give me a guess. How many convictions in the last 1 year, 5 year, or 10 years? Ballpark.
I don't have that with me, sir. Again, it's with the department.
You don't have that. Okay. Director Patel, how many active investigations does the FBI have into foreign individuals voting in U.S. elections?
Can't speak on active investigations, even though he spoke on every single active investigation related to any fucking shooter that could be politically expedient. Just kidding. He's not going to say that. He's going to answer this question, honestly and truthfully.
Cope.
We have a number of investigations, generally speaking, ongoing about individuals across the country.
Yeah, I'm asking for that number.
I don't have that number with me, but I have a number.
Or he doesn't know. Okay.
You have a number of investigations. Okay, is that number 10,000? Is it closer to 10,000 or closer to 10?
It's probably somewhere in between.
Okay. Will you please provide the committee with that number?
Got him.
Okay. Director Patel, since you don't have the numbers, would it surprise you to know that the Heritage Foundation, which is not exactly the Columbia University Faculty Lounge, found only 77 instances of non-citizen voting in the 24 years between 1999 and 2023, each of which faced investigation by the appropriate authorities. So Heritage has a number of 77 examples in 24 years. Does that number surprise you?
No, because it's low.
I don't understand your answer.
You asked me if I was.
Are you disputing that the number is in the range of 77 examples of non-U.S. citizens voting in U.S. elections in a 24-year period?
I just said that number's low.
You think that number is low? Okay.
Bro, wait, what happened? Did they not get their adrenochrome today? Are both of these guys just like, fuck this? Patel and Gabbard are like, wait, this is fucked, bro. Shit is fucked.
So why, if this is a meaningful issue, do we have no, and I guess I direct this to Director Gabbard, why is there no mention of this thing that will grind the American government to a halt for a 2-week period in the worldwide threats analysis?
I don't know. Ask Trump.
This annual threat assessment was shaped around the national security strategy's prioritization of threats to our nation and our nation's interests. There are multiple platforms and venues where there have been and there will be reporting on threats to our foreign threats to our elections.
Yield back.
Gentleman yields. Vice Chairman Kelly.
I'd first just like to say, Director Gabbard, you being in Georgia was a part of your duties as DNI to make sure that our elections remain safe, secure, and free from every type of influence. That was why you were there. Is that correct?
There he goes.
Yes.
Okay. I would argue, I want to talk about some of the points about the strikes on Iran, the current attacks, Epic Fury. And I would state that not only are there imminent threats from Iran, but there are actual threats. And I've been on the receiving end of those threats. I was in Iraq in 2005, where Iranian-based and manned and equipped units attacked American soldiers, including me, multiple times. I will also tell you I went back in 9 and 10, where EFPs developed by the Iranians struck my soldiers and our equipment. I would tell you.
Oh, I wonder how she engages with like the Glazers.
The Houthis have continued to strike Saudi Arabia. I will tell you Hamas and Hezbollah has continued to strike throughout the Middle East. And although we're not in an armed services hearing, we had that yesterday. But I will tell you, because we took out their ballistic missiles and their ability to defend from the air, that Europe is no longer under threat from Iran, who showed they will strike everyone that they can by striking all of their Arab neighbors in Azerbaijan and Turkey and everywhere else. With that being said, Director Ratcliffe, I think the CIA has had a great year in providing intelligence, whether that's in Venezuela, the initial Midnight Hammer strikes, or also the current strikes in Iran. Can you tell us kind of some of the things the CIA has done over the past year that you're proud of?
Congressman, good to see you again. Thank you for the question. Good to see all of you and be back in the House. I guess I'll start by saying I think you all know there was bipartisan concern when I took over the CIA that our human collection was in a downward spiral and had been for some period of time. And you all wanted a more aggressive CIA, one that was focused on core mission, one that was collecting the kind of intelligence and stealing secrets that would provide a decisive strategic advantage that can contribute to national security and foreign policy successes. I do think that the CIA, I agree with you, has had a great year, and that's a credit to our workforce. So you talked about some of the very public successes like Operation Midnight Hammer and Operation Absolute Resolve, where our agency contributed to a frankly flawless intelligence picture that allowed for flawless military operations. And I want to.
Oh, flawless? So who blew up the little schoolgirl place? I feel like that's a little bit of a tasteless statement, but okay.
Credit everyone here. There's been bipartisan praise from this committee, even from those of you who may disagree with the underlying policies. But I think those successes are really emblematic of success that the agencies had across the board on all national security matters in all national security spaces. And it's not just an opinion, it's reflected in our statistics. So when we talk about stealing secrets, you need assets and sources on the ground around the world. We're up 25% in that regard just in the past year. Our foreign intelligence reporting, meaning the intelligence that really matters to you as decision makers and the president as commander in chief, that's up across the board, 25%. Other categories, specific targets and adversaries like China, it's up 100%. Areas like technology, it's up 100%. Issues like counter narcotics, our operations are up by 70%.
I think he was talking specifically about Venezuela. Oh, okay, maybe that was just specifically about Venezuela. Never mind. Okay.
50%. With regard to counterterrorism, those are classified numbers that we'll get into in the classified portion, but those are triple digits. We've accomplished more on the counterterrorism front in the past year than in the prior 4 years combined. Again, really a credit to the CIA workforce. Morale at the agency is high because people are doing the work that they signed up to do, and this administration is calling on them to do more. I would say they are.
If I can step back the final 45 seconds, I have one question for Director Patel. Director Patel, the current shutdown that is caused by us not funding TSA, Border Control, DHS, and all those things, how hard has that made the job of counterintelligence, FBI, to protect us here in the homeland from threats that came through our borders or internally and already existing in the United States, Director Patel?
Thank you for the question. When it comes specifically to the combination efforts between the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, we have 59 Homeland Security task forces that we have stood up in every single state, and then some, that are co-led by the FBI and HSI. And obviously having a stopgap in funding is hurting those abilities to go out there and fight crime and pick up violent offenders across the country. Even though the DHS workforce shows up every day, I think they've gone 1 month without a paycheck now. We also have things like our Southern Border Intelligence Center in Tucson, Arizona, that is our hub for intelligence collection operations on foreign terrorist organizations, specifically the narco traffickers down in Mexico.
Thank you. My time's expired.
Mr. Carson's recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. The Trump administration has justified this war with Iran as necessary to stop an imminent threat. But the administration has not provided this committee with any intelligence indicating Iran was preparing a nuclear weapon, planning a preemptive attack on the United States, or possess any immediate capability to strike the U.S. homeland.
They do what they want.
That raises very serious questions about what the analysis of the IC provided before the decision to go to war was made. Directors Gabbard and Ratcliffe, is there any evidence that Iran intended to conduct a preemptive attack on the United States? And I ask this because 13 service members have been killed in Trump's war, including Captain Seth Koval, a husband and a dad from my state of Indiana, and my constituents want answers. So is there any evidence that Iran intended to conduct a preemptive attack on the U.S. prior to beginning this war, yes or no?
Congressman, the answer to this question needs to be reserved for a closed hearing. I will say, however, the intelligence community does provide the assessments of the threats that exist to the president so that he can make that determination within the body of information and intelligence and activities within the region that ultimately he is responsible for. What is an imminent threat? And if there is an imminent threat, what actions need to be taken?
Ooh, actions too.
Congressman, as the DNI said, there's a body of intelligence that we'll be able to cover in the classified portion of this hearing that does reflect that in the likely event of a conflict between Iran and Israel, that the U.S. would be immediately attacked, regardless of whether the United States stayed out of that conflict.
Shifting gears to Ranking Member Himes' point, let me read to you from the 2025 Annual Threat Assessment under your watch last year. Quote, Moscow's malign influence activities will continue for the foreseeable future and will almost certainly increase in sophistication and volume. Moscow probably believes information operations efforts to influence U.S. elections are advantageous, regardless of whether they affect election outcomes. By contrast, this year's threat assessment makes no mention of foreign threats to elections. Meanwhile, the IC has been publicly warning about foreign powers interfering in our elections for nearly a decade. So the omission is very striking. And to that point, sitting here today, I'm not aware of any intelligence products in the past year dedicated to foreign plans and intentions toward current and future U.S. elections.
It is kind of funny because I think Tulsi gave, I'm trying to remember when she gave like their big threat assessment presentation. It was like an open hearing thing or whatever. And I don't think Venezuela had been mentioned at all. And then it was like weeks later, we invaded Venezuela. And it's like, well, hold on. Why are we invading Venezuela like it's this huge threat to the United States when we just had a threat assessment? I don't think we even mentioned this country. Where did this come from? I think it was a chain of events there. Like,
Director Gabbard, yes or no, ma'am, have you directed or been directed to stop or limit dissemination of intelligence reports or finish intelligence reporting concerning foreign plans and intentions about upcoming U.S. elections or foreign threats to the midterms?
No.
Director Patel, same question for the FBI, sir. Yes or no, sir?
No, sir.
Director Ratcliffe, same question for the CIA, sir. Yes or no?
No.
General Hartman, same question for NSA, yes or no, sir?
No, sir.
General Adams, same question for the DIA, yes or no, sir?
No, sir.
I yield back, Chairman.
Gentleman yields. Ms. Stefanik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Gabbard, when you began your testimony, you stated that your remarks do not represent your personal beliefs. That's the first time I've heard that at a committee hearing. Why did you say that? Or is there anything in the threat assessment that you personally disagree with?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. The reason I've said that is twofold. Number one is when I assumed this role as Director of National Intelligence through the confirmation process and beyond, many members of Congress rightly said your personal views and your politics in this role get checked at the door. And as Director of National Intelligence, my responsibility is to report the intelligence community's assessments objectively and to make sure that they are not politicized in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, there are those who, for one reason or another, have tried to mischaracterize the intelligence community's assessments and saying, well, this is just a political view or trying to misdirect from what the intelligence community is reporting. So I took the opportunity to state that from the outset, that this is the intelligence community's assessments.
Thank you. I also wanted to ask this because this week there was a high-profile resignation of Director of National Counterterrorism Center. Now, I want to be clear from the outset. I've communicated directly with President Trump my support for Operation Epic Fury, and I was very not only disappointed, but how inappropriate this letter was. And I want to read a statement that and get your personal assessment, whether you agree or disagree with that. And that's this. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed no imminent threat to the United States and that you should strike now. There was a clear path to a swift victory. This was a lie and is the same tactic the Israelis used to draw us into a disastrous Iraq war. Now, I cannot say how much I disagree with that statement. Do you agree or disagree with what this letter was put out by former Director Kent?
He said a lot of things in that letter. Ultimately, we have provided the president with the intelligence assessments, and the president is elected by the American people and makes his own decisions based on the information that's available to him.
But do you agree?
Oh, right? Like, this is a huge opportunity for her to disavow, especially with what the Kent guy said in his leaving letter. That's pretty crazy. That she didn't even speak to that.
Elected by the American people and makes his own decisions based on the information that's available to him.
But do you agree with, does that statement he made, blaming Israel, concern you?
Yes.
My next question is, I want to touch on the rise of terrorist attacks on the homeland. In the month of
Wait, does it concern you because he made that statement, or does it concern you because of the factuality of the statement? We didn't clarify
March
that.
alone, there were multiple high-profile Islamic terrorist attacks. You had Temple Israel Synagogue in Michigan. You had in Texas, you had an ISIS-inspired attack where they threw an IED in New York City. What is your assessment as to the rise of Islamic terrorism on the homeland?
As you've pointed to, Congresswoman, this continues to be an extreme concern, not only because of the rise of these attacks, but the mechanisms which they're carried out and the challenges that the intelligence community has.
You know what the funniest fucking loop on all this shit is? I wonder if I don't know what Tulsi Gabbard's background is. She was in Hawaii, she was a senator, right? Senator Gabbard? Congressman Gabbard? She was a senator, right?
She previously, no, U.S. representative.
Oh, she was a representative?
Second.
I wonder if she, like, because just the way she speaks, she, like, reeks of, like, Russian interest and all this bullshit. But I wonder if she was? And she's like tried to like rig everything so that like, look, Trump, like Iran's not a threat. Look, everything in here is fine. Like, look, we're good or whatever. But Trump's just so fucking retarded. He just doesn't listen to anything, even when the information is true. So she's like, fuck this guy. Because now Putin is like fucking shooting her text messages like, bruh, the whole reason why you're here was to keep this shit from happening. What's going on? And you're like, bruh, I told him that Iran wasn't a threat. I don't know why this motherfucker is going in anyway. And she's like, fuck.
As in being able to try to detect some of these threats and attacks in advance. I'd like to defer to the FBI director on some of this because they have been very successful in many cases over the last year in detecting them and preventing these attacks. But due to the nature of the challenge in many of these attackers not having contact with known foreign terrorist entities or individuals makes this a much...
She's probably on her way out. I don't know if she would be, because I don't know if Trump knows what like anything in this part of the government does or cares about what anything in this part of the government does. Like, I don't think he has any idea or gives a fuck. Like, supposedly, if the earlier articles are to be believed, I think she was excluded from a lot of the talks having to do with capturing Maduro. Like, they just didn't even fucking have the DNI roped into that. They're like, oh, fuck them.
Well, I think that's because of her. Is it not because of her thing that's sitting in like a fucking locked room in somewhere that they're trying to figure out? It was like a whistleblower report.
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure just because she's like a super America isolationist person who doesn't like doing any of this shit. But Trump doesn't really need, like, Trump is a retard, so of course he hates intelligence, right? Like, he's not gonna. Yeah, I don't think he doesn't give a fuck. I don't think he thinks he needs to work with these people at all. Anyways, like, fuck him. I don't need any of this shit.
more challenging threat to deal with.
And I want to turn to Director Patel. I think that's a good, important segue to get your assessment. And I also want to add another aspect of the question. We're working on a 9/11 Commission review, 25-year review. What other tools do you need to make sure that we are able to have the most robust, effective CT efforts?
Yeah, thank you, Congresswoman. Just real quick. So last year we had 2,300 arrests related to foreign terrorist organizations. We had 700 counterterrorism arrests, and the FBI had 640 counterterrorism disruptions where we stopped attacks on the homeland. Specifically in December, we stopped 4 in an 18-day span. What I need is specifically highlighted the Norfolk attack. In Norfolk, an individual who was convicted of terrorism and sentenced based upon that conviction should have still been in prison. The Department of Justice in the first Trump administration sought a sentence of 240 months. The judge in that case downward departed and gave a variance to nearly half that sentence. If that had not occurred, that individual would still be in prison and a member of our uniformed military service would still be alive. I want to work with the legislature to figure out how to increase the sentencing for convicted terrorists and also work on the denaturalization process for someone who should not be in this country who wants to attack and kill American citizens and American service members.
Thank you. Yield back.
Gentleman yields. Mr. Castro.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you all for your testimony today. I want to start with a question about Iran and discuss first how the war began. Secretary Rubio told us that Israel was going to strike Iran regardless, and that doing so would have triggered Iranian retaliation against U.S. forces already in the region. And Director Ratliff, you seem to affirm that in comments just a few moments ago. So rather than tell Israel to stand down, the president joined the war. The Congress and the American people still don't know what the president's actual goals are. True. And yet, we have lost 13 U.S. service members. But here's what we do know. The president has said that he wants a deal. He said Iran wants to make a deal and that he's not ready because, quote, the terms aren't good enough yet. Yet, they just killed Ali Larijani, the de facto leader of Iran, who, while not a friend of the United States, would have been the person to negotiate any agreement with.
True.
The president explicitly said that the United States did not strike Iran's energy infrastructure because, in his words, having to rebuild it, quote, would take years. Yet this morning, Israel struck the South Pars gas field, the world's largest natural gas reserve, triggering Iranian attacks on Qatari gas facilities. Oil prices are up 15% in the last 24 hours.
Problem
in San
solvers?
Antonio, my hometown, where I represent, the cost of gas has gone up nearly 40% in 3 weeks. Last night, the president said that the United States knew nothing about the attack and called on Israel to stop similar attacks on energy. Israel denies this and says that the attack was cleared by the United States.
I can't believe, unless, I have a few weapons guys on Discord. I can't believe that there are people operating in a similar like theater of war that aren't constantly giving advanced warning to each other about ongoing or upcoming operations. I can't believe that, just because the potential for some kind of catastrophic misunderstanding or shooting, like friendly fire incident or something, like I just can't believe that that's the case. That there would be American and Israeli operations over the Iranian skies, and there's no coordination or collaboration, or at least like notice given from one side. I just can't believe it. There's no way that's true.
So my question is, what does the intelligence community assess Israel's goals in this war to be? And are those goals aligned with the goals of the United States?
I'm thinking carefully here about what can be said in this open setting versus a closed setting.
Are the goals aligned?
Wait.
In this war. So my question is, what does the intelligence community assess Israel's goals in this war to be? And are those goals aligned with the goals of the United States?
I'm thinking carefully here about what can be said in this open setting versus a closed setting.
Are the goals aligned?
The objectives that have been laid out by the president are different from the objectives that have been laid out by the Israeli government.
And how do they differ?
We can see through the operations that the Israeli government has been focused on.
This is a crazy, candid answer in a non-classified environment. I feel like that's an unbelievable amount of transparency into things that are going on. For the head of the the National Director of Intelligence is telling us that the war aims of the United States and the military and Israel and the IDF are not aligned, or not after the same objectives. That's pretty crazy.
From the objectives that have been laid out by the Israeli government.
And how do they differ?
We can see through the operations that the Israeli government has been focused on disabling the Iranian leadership and taking out several members, obviously beginning with the Ayatollah and the supreme leader. And they continue to focus on that effort.
And how does that differ from our goals?
The president has stated that his objectives are to destroy Iran's ballistic missile launching capability, their ballistic missile production capability, and their Navy, the IRGC Navy and mine laying capability.
So the death and destruction continues, the economic cost to the United States.
So her statement there, she's saying that the American president's goal is the destruction of the military capacity for Iran, which you can arguably defend or whatever as protecting American interests or whatever, but that the Israeli goal is regime change, and that Israeli goal is not in step with the American goal, that these two things are not necessarily, that we're not sharing the same goal here. It's interesting.
I don't believe
To
that,
Israel,
though.
to the Gulf.
You what?
I don't believe that.
Why not?
Because it's fucking retarded to just go there to kill all their fucking things and not expect a regime change. Or not want a regime change.
I mean, you can do things like that. It just depends on what you're doing. Like, we bombed their shit one time, right? A year ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then why are they back in there if they have no nuclear capabilities like they're saying?
I don't know what got Trump to go back in or not. I really don't know. I don't know what Netanyahu told him, or what clearly didn't come from fucking Tulsi. It didn't come from our intelligence agencies, unless she's just outwardly lying about everything. But.
So the death and destruction continues, the economic cost to the United States, to Israel.
Destiny, does it matter if they do not share the same goal? What would matter is if either of them are against what the other is doing. Well, not sharing the same goal is very, 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 very crazy, right? That we're in a war that is having a massive downstream impact on everything in the world, including the U.S. domestic markets and everything else, like our oil, our energy and everything else. And that war might be driven, like this is literally Zog, right? That we're having a war that's at extreme detriment to ourselves, but it's being driven by Israeli interest in regime change because it benefits them in the region.
To the Gulf states and to the world continues to increase. So I want to ask you, to the best of your knowledge, do you know whether Israel is supportive of the president's call to make a deal with Iran?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know Israel's position on that.
To the best of your knowledge, do you know whether Israel is supportive of the president's call to make a deal with Iran?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know Israel's position on that.
And to what do you attribute Israel's decision to strike Iranian energy infrastructure, despite President Trump's call to keep those facilities off limits?
I don't have an answer for that.
Jeez.
So they ignored the president. Do you agree with that?
I'm not privy to any of their deliberations or what went into their calculus in launching this or other attacks. I'm not. We are not involved with in the operational element of this. We're providing continuously on a daily basis the intelligence assessments of the events that are occurring, and
I guess I know the FBI can't because they're domestic, but can anybody else at the table provide any insight into that?
I guess I'm not sure what the question you're asking, Congressman Castro. I guess a couple of things. The goals that the president set out are clearly defined. The DNI related those. What was not included is a goal of the U.S.
Well, Director, let me start with this.
Let me
start with this question. You asked what my question is. Let me reclaim my time, Director. Come on. Do you know why Israel decided to strike that infrastructure, despite the fact that the president said it should be off limits?
I wouldn't speak for Israel.
What do you guys know? We're at war. What do you guys know?
We'll have to take that for.
Wait. 30-second meme. Pope Leo.
Pope is calling for a ceasefire in the Middle East and to reopen dialogue. What do you say about Pope?
Well, look, we can have dialogue, but I don't want to do a ceasefire. You know, you don't do a ceasefire when you're literally obliterating the other side. They don't have a Navy. They don't have an Air Force. They don't have any equipment. They don't have any spotters. They don't have anti-aircraft. They don't have radar. And their leaders have all been killed at every level. We're not looking to do that. Thank you.
Isn't this exactly when you do a ceasefire to negotiate like an end to the... What? Okay, I don't know.
For the record.
Yes, let's take it for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to welcome the panelists here today. Today is March 19th. On April 19th, FISA goes dark. 702 goes dark. And it's been talked about many times, but up to 60% of the president's daily briefing is derived from FISA 702. And we look at the successes that we've had in protecting the homeland and also the conflicts the U.S. has been involved with. The flawless operation in Venezuela, Operation Fury in Iran, troop protection, the successes we've had on the battlefield in Ukraine, the recovery and release of the Hamas hostages in the tunnels in Israel, all derived from FISA 702. There is not a military operation that we've been involved with where FISA 702 was not, as Director Ratcliffe has said, been indispensable to the United States in the protection of our country. Director Patel has also said FISA 702 is indispensable. We're 30 days away from it going dark. Director Ratcliffe, can you clarify the president's position on an 18-month clean reauthorization and how that's going to proceed moving forward?
Congressman, thank you, and thank you for highlighting this issue. So the president is in favor of an 18-month clean reauthorization of FISA 702, and I would add to that, I'm heartened by the fact to hear that the chairman of this committee and the ranking member are in agreement with that. And I know there's bipartisan support for that, and there should be. And I know this is an important vote for you to take, but I would ask that you all consider when you do that, when you look at the fact that former DNIs and former CIA directors and former FBI directors and DIA directors and NSA directors across Republican and Democrat administrations are in support of FISA 702 in its current form. These are the people that are making the decisions to keep Americans safe. And so I wish the reauthorization was longer than 18 months, Congressman. I think that this is something that I wish you all would consider for longer than that, so that regardless of who the president is in the future, he or she would have the benefit of, as you said, a tool that's indispensable across administrations, provides more than half of the important, actionable intelligence that the president and the commander-in-chief relies upon.
Thank you for that. Director Gabbard, you're supportive of the 18-month extension the president's seeking without a warrant requirement?
That is the president's position, and that is the position of the intelligence community.
And you will be supporting that, correct?
I will support the president's decision to execute this.
Correct. Thank you. Director Gabbard, we implemented 2 years ago a number of reforms, actually 56 of them, that were part of the Reforming Intelligence and Securing America Act, RISA. And that was done in a bipartisan way. That was a reflection of what we thought were problems with FISA 702, going back during the first Trump administration and even before that. These reforms that have been put in place and that you have helped implement, I was wondering if you could talk specifically about those reforms on the cutting down of FBI agents having access to querying of FISA information, the fact that there are criminal penalties now for FBI agents that are engaged in inappropriate activity as it relates to FISA. Please tell us some of those reforms and how those have been implemented. Director Patel.
Sorry, I thought you were asking for DNI. Absolutely. So we've gone above and beyond what RISA requires since I became director 13 months ago. We not only require supervisory special agents to approve the query request of U.S. persons, we also require the general counsel's office and lawyers to come in and agree with that request before we can proceed. Also, we have we used to, before this, had a default which allowed queries when we were utilizing our system to say it automatically searches 702. You now have to actually opt in and select that box to make sure that you are intentionally doing so. On top of that, we've reduced the number of personnel at the FBI from 6,600 before I got there to 3,500 that have access to it. Not that use it, but that have access to it. And we've also gone above and beyond what RISA requires in terms of if you misuse it unintentionally or recklessly. If you use it misuse it unintentionally, like you typed a name wrong in terms of spelling or whatnot, your access is suspended and be retrained. If you recklessly use it, you're immediately terminated your access forever.
Thank you.
Mr. Crow.
Thank you, Chairman. Director Gabbard, it is your job and the job of your agency and department to assess the views of Iranian leadership, their policy beliefs, and policy positions, correct?
Yes.
That includes now deceased Ali Khamenei of Iran, correct?
Yes.
And the now leader, his son Mujtaba Khamenei, correct?
Yes.
The son is considered more of a hardliner than his father. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
So hardline that even some of Iran's leaders thought he was too aggressive. Isn't that correct?
That is the intelligence community assessment, yes.
Mujtaba, the son, is particularly close to the brutal Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and their most hardline commanders, correct?
That is the intelligence community assessment.
He was involved in ordering violent crackdowns on Iranian protesters, including their murder, correct?
Yes.
And we don't know if the son will continue his father's religious ban on developing nuclear weapons. Is that correct?
It is unknown at this time.
You testified before this committee last year that the elder, now deceased Khamenei, had in 2003 banned the nuclear weapons program, or suspended it, correct?
There was a fatwa in place that stated that.
And that fatwa remained in place last year when you testified before this committee, correct?
Yes.
And that fatwa remained in place recently, correct?
As far as I know, it has not been lifted.
Yeah, you're aware of no information that would lift that fatwa?
I'm not aware of any intelligence reporting that states that. To be clear on the Mojtaba, the son who has been named to replace him, it is unclear of his status or his involvement.
What is FISA 702? My guess is the FISA stands for, it's like Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, and it's how you get like warrants and stuff. Is that only when it's concerning Americans that are involved in some of these investigations? I think it's the process by which you secure subpoenas and stuff to investigate Americans and stuff. Yeah.
He was injured very severely through one of the Israeli strikes, and so the decision-making is unclear about what's happening in the Iranian leadership.
So it's unclear. So we're less certain of the positions of Iranian leadership and their intentions than we were 60 days ago, correct?
That's an accurate assessment.
This is an insanely candid.
Jesus.
I wonder if she is on the way out. I wonder what. I feel like this is a really crazy. She's like just completely like out of step with
the report that she's on the way out, I think.
Well, a report. It was a quote unquote. It was a scoop by fucking Laura Loomer, which who knows?
Oh, that's true. It was fucking. You're right.
But I mean, that maybe. I mean, no. Laura Loomer knows a lot of crazy shit. She's like Milo, though, right? If it's true, she might know it, but she also makes shit up, so it's hard to say.
Yeah.
One of your jobs is to create products assessing Iran and the threats it poses to the United States, correct?
Yes.
And that includes potential outcomes for military action, correct?
It includes potential outcomes of a variety of scenarios.
Like in the likelihood of those outcomes?
Yes.
Generally, when you make assessments about threats facing the United States, you will look at, in Iran in any instance, the likely scenarios that have come out of military action, correct?
The intelligence community takes all of those factors into account when they create these assessments.
When you look at the threats posed by foreign countries, you also assess timelines to those threats, correct?
What do you mean by timelines?
Like a breakout time, for example, for nuclear weapons or the development of ballistic missiles.
Yes, based on the information available at any given time.
In the timeline also for potential terrorist attacks, correct?
Broadly, yes,
It
assesses
is common
all matters
practice
available
for the
to
IC
that.
to assess the timeline of all threats. Nuclear weapons development, ballistic, right?
Yes.
Ballistic weapons development.
Based on the information available, yes.
Terrorist attacks.
Same applies.
Cyber attacks. Timelines for all of those, correct?
When there is information available that point to that, yes.
In likelihood, as well as the timeline, correct?
Based on the information available.
Timing is important, is it not?
Okay, hold on. Just so I understand, because our structure of some of the government is confusing as fuck. For Tulsi Gabbard to be the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, she could be considered, or she is considered, the head. Like, all intelligence in the United States eventually flows up or through her, including even like military intelligence. Correct? Like, if there is a thing to be known that the U.S. intelligence community knows, then the DNI will know it, right? Not military? Even on the civilian side? Or I don't know if the civilian side makes sense. Like the DoD stuff doesn't report up or parallel through to her at some point? Yeah, I'm asking Mr. Moot. He's supposed to know the answer to this. I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
I thought we looked at this and like the intelligence services on the military even feed up through the civilian DoD agencies do flow through the ODNI, like the NSA. Yeah, okay, that was my understanding. Maybe there's some secret military intelligence that doesn't, or more specified to each branch that doesn't. It's kind of crazy because if you listen to like everything she said thus far, she's basically said that there was absolute. She said that, okay, so first she said, we have an intelligence community that makes these threat assessments, okay? We know that the new leadership that's likely to take over, the son of Khomeini or whatever, is more radical, is less predictable. We know that they weren't, with the fatwa, did you understand that? Was that a fatwa to not?
To not make nuclear weapons?
To not assemble nuclear weapons? I understood that, right? Okay.
Yep.
And then she knows, and she's saying there was no reason to believe there was a some type of threat or whatever, or that she's not aware of any intelligence stating any of these things. Basically, she's like stripping all of the claims that Trump has made about this war. She's basically saying here, all of them have come from the White House. There's no connection to any part of the intelligence community that is delivering these assessments to Donald Trump. And she's also gone a step further and said that we might not even have aligned interests with our Israeli partners in this war. I don't know. That's a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah.
It is an important factor that goes into the assessment.
So it is your position sitting here today that you made no timeline determination as to threats that Iran had facing the United States, correct?
That's a very broad statement, but where the information is available, the intelligence community factors that into their assessment products.
Did you or the IC...
Like, her answers are also, like, very direct. Like, she's like the... I can't believe I'm saying this. Did she say that Trump won the election? I think she probably also pussied out of that. I think everybody did, except for like, fucking Dr. Oz or somebody. She's being very, very, very direct and cooperative with all of this, too. She's not fighting on any answer. I think all of this has been a pretty huge condemnation of the current administration. She's not being cagey or anything. And I feel like she's offering up way more information than she has to. I feel like for a lot of these questions, she could very easily say, like, I'm not at liberty to discuss that, or like, I can't give information about this, or it would reveal whatever, or we have to do this on the closed side of this briefing or whatever. She's giving a lot of information publicly on this.
Make any assessments as to the timing of potential threats facing the United States from Iran in the last 90 days?
I'm sure there was timelines factored into the intelligence assessments that were delivered.
Did any of them show imminence?
The imminent nature of a threat is determined by the president based on a totality.
Who joined?
So Reason Riffs. I'm just listening in the background. Like, it's insane. Is she the only person to say that they then expected that Iran could have nuclear weapons by 2035? Did I hear that correctly?
What was the 2034 or whatever date that she... I don't remember. I don't remember what that was about in particular. Somebody in chat might remember. But.
Well, I thought it was she was saying that that's when they could have nuclear weapons by, which is basically, like
not
sometime
anywhere close to, yeah.
Exactly, and like it's basically saying not anywhere close. She's incredibly clever if she's playing the game that we think she's playing, right? Like she wants plausible deniability, right? Just as that's the impression I'm getting.
Well, everybody keeps reading it this way, but I feel like I don't know if she needs plausible deniability here. Like, what does she need plausible deniability from? It sounds like they just have deniability. Like, the idea that Iran was a clear and present danger to the United States, that they were imminently about to do something, that this is a war of necessity. It sounds like that intelligence literally just didn't exist.
No, I mean her as an individual. I don't mean the administration. I mean, she's going against the administration, but doesn't want to be openly being seen to do so. Like, she's throwing Trump under the bus multiple times. She's hinted that she wasn't involved in decision making that she should be involved in, right?
Well, she should be, but if she's not involved in it, it's because the White House is excluding her from the conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And she's stating that multiple times, as if to say, the leadership is
excluding
malfunctioning
me
here. So,
yes, yeah.
Yeah. And she should be the one that's informed and helping making these decisions.
Yep.
And in terms of objectives, there used to be a time where she could have easily just said, hey, this risks, on ongoing missions and, the lives of servicemen, right? Because now she's just admitted they're going after missiles, which we know anyway, right? But she could easily have denied that stuff.
Yeah, or just not spoken to it at all and said that she can't. Yeah, 100%.
She's always been a bit of an enigma, but like it's as if she's on the way out or she's in this position, but she must have something on Trump as well, right? So she knows that they can't really get rid of her. But
well, I mean, she could just be. It could literally we could just read all of this as being kind of earnest, right? If she came in, Tulsi has always been publicly like very isolationist in terms of what she feels like U.S. policy should be. She's a big like fuck NATO, fuck the West kind of thing, and I don't know if she'd made statements on going to war with Iran or something prior to her coming into the cabinet, but if she did, she would have been anti-war with Iran in all cases, 100%.
Maybe I'm just paranoid, but I don't trust, even though she's been consistent, I don't trust that she's ever been earnest. She always looks like she's got this little grin on her face just waiting to pop out, like when she's, like she pulls this serious face often, and you can tell that she doesn't really feel that serious. She's putting on an act. Right? I
understand what you're saying, but like people don't always have to lie, right? Like let's say that like if you're like let's say that you're stealing from your boss and then somebody starts asking you like how you feel about them and you really do hate them and you're saying I fucking hate this guy, he's a piece of shit or whatever, right? Like you can lie about stealing from him while also being earnest about your opinion about hating him. Like those two things wouldn't be contradictory.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you may not consistently lie because it may not be in your interest. So it may just be in your interest to tell the truth. And I think that's what she's doing now. But why she's telling the truth is the more difficult question here. Like,
well, I mean, if we move from any kind of like Russian agent mind for her, which I say half memeingly, but I don't know anymore. It could be if she genuinely is like anti-interventionalist or views America as needing to be more isolationist in nature or anti, like invade and blow countries, I'm anti-interventionist. Then I mean, like these could all just be genuine feelings that she has. And as the head of as the director of national intelligence, the head of the ODNI, she might just feel like we didn't give him anything for this. Like there's no reason for him to be doing this. It didn't come from us. Like all of this could just be genuine stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is the Occam's razor kind of direction to go with this, right? It just, it's a bit more complex to say that there is other interests going on in the background, but in terms of her position in the administration and how she's basically said that she's been cut out of it. There must be some, resentment involved in that as well, if that is the case. In which case, how much is she planning to go against the current administration? Like, how far is she going to go with this? And what happens as a reaction to this in terms of her position?
Well, I mean, this is about as far as she can go. Because again, she's not like, she can't control the military or anything, right? It's just intelligence. But then also, in terms of the reaction, I just don't think Trump cares about his intelligence agencies much. It just doesn't seem like he uses them or does anything with them. He's obsessed with like the military stuff, and then he likes his domestic people, so like Department of Homeland Security, like ICE and stuff, and his federal officers. But it doesn't seem like I feel like I don't hear him engage much with his intelligence agencies, and he doesn't know how to use the DOJ effectively. I'm just seeing now this the Don Lemon case or whatever. Apparently, the FBI or the DOJ hasn't been turning over any discovery to the defendants, which in my mind means it's because they haven't been doing a good job at collecting it or getting it ready. So they probably did the indictment on this case early, and they don't have good discovery because they just haven't done any work on this because it's all just a fucking joke. Like, Trump just doesn't engage much. Like, I don't think Trump's ever like, I need to get a different director of intelligence so that I can actually do what I want to do, because he just does what he wants to do anyway, and he doesn't use his intelligence regardless. Is what it feels like, as stupid as that is.
I mean, I can imagine that he just doesn't like hearing something that contradicts what he wants to hear. So, of course, that's what intelligence agencies often do. You know, they tell the hard truth, like invading Iran is going to be a big problem. And, you know, he doesn't want to hear that. So then he stops listening to them simply just because it doesn't follow the narrative that he wants to believe in.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That would be what I guess is happening.
Do you think this is Tulsi's exit from the administration for like a presidency run, or no?
I feel like she would. I mean, if she feels strongly about any of this, I feel like she wouldn't leave, because the fear would be that she'd be replaced by an actual crazy sycophantic person.
I mean, but I don't think any of these people give a fuck.
I mean, they have to care to some extent. These people aren't here by accident.
Would she stand as a Republican? How would she become president?
Oh, like, what would she run for office? Oh, I don't know about any of that shit. Maybe not. Who knows?
That's what I'm saying. I like, this could be her exit from it, from the administration, to run in the future and be like, well, I was anti-Trump at this level.
Maybe.
That's the thing. She could be trying to set it up so she gets effectively kicked out and says, hey, I didn't want to leave, but I was kicked out, rather than actually completely burning the bridge and being obviously the one to do it.
Sure.
That's what I think is possibly. That's why she's having this plausible deniability for herself as an individual. I don't mean as an administration. Like, you know, there's so many contradictions, right? So if the objective is to prevent nuclear weapons, and then she says, well, they're going after the missile silos. And then, okay, you could say, well, getting rid of the Ayatollah was part of preventing, the plans to build the nuclear weapons. But at the same time, you know, the new administration in Iran is even more extreme. So it's actually contradictory to their objectives.
But that's not contradicting her assessment. The contradiction she's pointing to are. That's what I mean when I say she's throwing the White House under the bus. She's saying that they're trying to destroy the missiles and all this stuff, but like the next guy coming in is potentially even more radical than his father, and we don't know his position on any of these things at all, and we can't speak to like any of his motivations or anything. So
which is what we'd expect, right? Like trying to have a regime change from the air is insane, and even on the ground hasn't worked. So we'd expect that anyway, even if we didn't have that intelligence.
Well, we wouldn't expect that the guy coming next would be even more radical, because then what's the point of even trying to do the regime change? Now it seems like it's just a contradictory aim.
Yeah, but if you randomly generated a new leader in a situation where a country's been really obliterated, you're going to expect that there will be so much upheaval and uncertainty that it will radicalize that next administration. They would have to gain the support of the people.
Maybe it depends on the popularity of the current regime and who's ready to take the place of the next one and who's got the support of the military and all that. But I mean, generally speaking,
historically, that has been the case, right?
Sure.
So that means getting rid of the Ayatollah was actually contradictory to the objectives and interests of the US. So basically, okay, there's different objectives, but it's not only that.
Well, yeah, but remember, she also said explicitly, you just said that was contradictory to the interests of the U.S., which is true, but she said that Israel and the U.S. don't have the same interests, and it sounds like she said Israel's interests are more with regime change, so killing those...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, those interests, they're not just different, they're actually
could be
going
contradictory
against the U.S. interest in the area, let alone U.S. interest more broadly. I mean, if you just read into all of this, it's so many cases of throwing the White House under the bus. I mean, they've been run over like 10 times, during this. It's actually pretty insane, and it's quite clever. I've respected her before in terms of her intelligence, not in terms of what I think her intent is. But this is peak Tulsi. Yeah, this is insane.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I'm going to get back. I'm actually installing a couple of servers in my new flat, so I'm going to get back to that and continue to listen. But this is insane. This is
be
crazy.
careful.
Cool. Take care.
Don't let the AI invade your house.
Well, it's kind of doing it locally, but anyway.
Go ahead.
Of the intelligence and information provided to him.
It didn't even show that there were attacks anticipated within the next 90 days from Iran.
It's too simplistic of a statement to say that, because it depends on various scenarios occurring or not occurring. That were delivered.
Did any of them show imminence?
The imminent nature of a threat is determined by the president based on a totality of the intelligence and information provided to him.
It didn't even show that there were attacks anticipated within the next 90 days from Iran.
It's too simplistic of a statement to say that because it depends on various scenarios occurring or not occurring.
Did those assessments show timelines for the threats that Iran posed to the United States?
The totality of threats, yes, there were timelines involved where it applied and where that information was available. But again, to your question about the determination of imminence, the president makes that determination based on the totality of information and intelligence.
The bottom line is there was no imminent threat,
provided.
and you know that, and there's no product that shows that. I yield back.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here today. I want to expand on the questioning from my colleague, Mr. LaHood, regarding FISA 702. Obviously, it is the imminent issue right before us. Will expire in a month. Unequivocally, the most critical national security tool our nation has to keep us safe from fentanyl, foreign wars, and everything in between.
It's FISA.
Mainly to Director Ratcliffe, but any of you can answer this. One of the most perplexing debates that I've been subject to in my time here is this debate over what warrants are and when they're needed. In the 250-year history of this country, and going back to the very origins of law enforcement, we have always had a warrant requirement on the collection of evidence. We have never had a warrant requirement on the querying of already lawfully collected data, which is why we don't require police officers to get warrants when they run license plates, querying off of already lawfully collected DOT data. It's why we don't require police officers to get a warrant to enter the evidence locker in their police precinct, which contains already lawfully collected data. It would literally shut down the system. And that's not a warrant requirement. That's a secondary warrant requirement. That's a warrant requirement on steroids. So, Director Ratcliffe, or any of you, I know you've been subject to these questions as well. Is it just a confusion over the difference between the collection of evidence versus the querying of our already lawfully collected data? Is it a lack of understanding of what incidental collection is, which is a fundamental precept of law enforcement? But if we have a warrant requirement on steroids for now the querying of already lawfully collected data, just by the numbers, that would require an expansion of the federal judiciary by a factor of 100. It would literally shut down our law enforcement.
I'm going to make a lot of guesses here, so I'm going to tell you if I'm right or wrong in chat. My guess is going to be that, I don't know if this is part of FISA 702 or whatever, but my guess is going to be that intelligence agencies are allowed to collect huge swaths of data from either from corporations or social media or whatever, but that's because if they don't collect it as it's created or whatever, it's going to be gone forever and they can't ever use it. But let's say that you collect, so let's say that part of the CIA is I'm allowed to archive every single meta post that's ever made. But however, if you want to use this as part of an investigation, or if you want to build on something just to that, if you actually want to go to the database and access these particular things, then you have to get some kind of FISA warrant, I'm guessing, or some kind of warrant in order to actually go over to query the database and go over evidence you've already collected. And this guy's saying well, if you've got the evidence already, then you should be able to go over anything you want, because you wouldn't have to query evidence collected as part of a police investigation. But my guess is for a police investigation, those subpoenas require you to have articulable, whatever the standard is for getting a warrant from a judge, whereas for the national security stuff, the collection requirements are probably much lower, so they can collect a much larger net of data. It's my guess.
Apparatus at perhaps the most dangerous time in our nation's history. So, Director Ratcliffe, or any of you, if you could just walk me through your analysis there.
Well, I'll start, Congressman. Thanks for the question. Again, thanks for highlighting this important issue. And as has been pointed out, reforms should be implemented where they're necessary. And I think, speaking for myself, and I know Director Patel supported the reforms from 2 years ago to make improvements, and they did. And so some reforms should be considered. A warrant isn't one of them. And with respect to the reforms that have been implemented, we're talking about, when we talk about Fourth Amendment rights and privacy concerns, we're at a 99.9% compliance rate with respect to that. So I would start by saying, why are you trying to fix?
Got a defib? No defib? No. Well, good luck, buddy.
Cooked.
What's not broken with something that I can tell you from this seat, the fix would not work. And I go back to my comment before. DNIs, CIA directors, FBI directors, the people that have been in all of these chairs before on a bipartisan basis agree that a warrant won't work and don't advocate for it. Congressman, you're correct. This is lawfully collected information.
But it sounds like it's lawfully collected because it's going to be gated behind the requirement for some warrant. So if if you didn't have that requirement, it sounds like they would have to go through an actual subpoena warrant process for every single thing they'd collect instead. So I feel like that's misleading there, unless I'm misunderstanding the underlying architecture of this.
And we have, these things come at you very fast, and you have to make decisions very quickly, and sometimes in a matter of hours. You have to act on the information that you have lawfully, that has been lawfully collected to interdict drug shipments or terrorist activities, and a warrant requiring you to go to the court to seek probable cause for information that has already been lawfully collected only prevents that from happening. I don't understand. I understand that it's well-meaning for people that are proposing it, but again, I would defer to the people who sit in these chairs and make these decisions who would tell you that it doesn't work.
Anybody else want to comment on the warrant requirement?
So, Congressman, I'd love to comment. Thanks for the question. I do just want to add a couple of points. Agree with everything Director Radcliffe said. Not only is this already collected data on foreign personnel outside of the United States, but the data that is being queried has also already been analyzed to ensure that it contains foreign intelligence value, which I think is a very important part of this. And then when we query a U.S. person term, we're not querying for U.S. person information. We're querying for foreign intelligence that has already been evaluated at least once to contain foreign intelligence in the database that's being accessed. And then the final piece that I think is important is that both the FISC and the Department of Justice have established robust legal and compliance rules that we adhere to and that is audited by DOJ for every query that we make.
Thank you. I yield back.
Dr. Barra.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Gabbard, we've known each other for a long time. We were both elected to Congress in 2012 and served together.
Okay, so somebody says, collected data is not considered actual data. It all sits there in these massive databases, but because it hasn't been queried, it's not actually considered data. When somebody queries the database, it then becomes data, and doing that requires warrants. Okay, that sounds right.
For a while, I may not have always agreed with your positions, but I respected the consistency of some of your positions. Director Gabbard, following the January 3rd, 2020 drone strike that killed Qasem Soleimani, you gave a speech on the House floor 6 days later, on January 9th, 2020. In this speech, that is currently in the congressional record and available for anyone to view, you stated, quote, President Trump has committed an illegal and unconstitutional act of war, pushing our nation headlong into a war with Iran without any authorization from Congress. A war that would be so costly and devastating, it would make our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan look like a picnic. On February 28, 2026, the Trump administration, under which you are the president's principal intelligence advisor, launched an illegal and unconstitutional act of war, pushing our nation headlong into a war with Iran without any authorization from Congress. This war has already been costly and devastating. 13 American service members have lost their lives, including Chief Warrant Officer Robert Marsden from my home of Sacramento, California. And approximately 200 service members have been wounded. The Pentagon reported that the first 6 days of Operation Epic Fury cost $11.3 billion. That averages almost $2 billion per day. That was the first 6 days, and now we're in the 19th day of this war. That's ballooned into a regional conflict, putting the lives of Americans and our allies throughout the Middle East in danger. Director Gabbard, do you still believe that strikes against Iran that don't have congressional authorization constitute an illegal and unconstitutional act of war?
Congressman, thank you for the question. The cost of war weighs very heavily upon me and my colleagues here, especially for those of us who have experienced and seen the cost of war firsthand. My own personal and political views, as I mentioned earlier, I was asked and required by Congress and by the President in this role as the Director of National Intelligence to check those views at the door to ensure that the intelligence assessments are not colored by my personal views.
Director
and that's
Gabbard,
exactly what I am responsible to
deliver. Do you still believe
deliver.
that war with Iran would be so costly and devastating that it would make our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan look like a picnic?
Once again, in this role, it is essential that I do not allow any of my personal views on any issues to color or bias the intelligence reporting that we deliver to you and to the President.
Director Gabbard, in this hearing 1 year ago, I asked some questions, and I'll paraphrase my exact question. It's like, we should keep politics out of this, even if the President disagrees with a directive, if it goes against his personal wishes, if he's considering an order that potentially is unconstitutional or illegal or compromises our security. I want your word that you will always provide and give the honest advice to the President, even if it will make him angry. I asked you that question. I'm going to read your answer. And to your specific question, the answer is yes. I will inform the President of that accurate, timely, unbiased intelligence reporting, whether it is something that agrees with an assumption or a view or an objective or not. That's my responsibility to him and to the American people. Director Gabbard, there is no imminent threat of nuclear breakout. Did you deliver that assessment to the President?
I have delivered the intelligence community's assessments to the President.
There was no imminent nuclear threat to the United States. There was no evidence of imminence that Iran was going to attack American assets. That was different from anything they've done over 4 decades. That was going to attack our homeland. There was no imminent threat. Imminent is defined in the dictionary as something that is about to happen. Not something that's been happening for 4 decades, not something that is going to happen 3 months from now, not something that's going to happen a year from now. Imminent said this is about to happen. Did you deliver that assessment to the president?
I delivered the intelligence community's objective analysis of the threats, the severity of those threats, and the scope, along with assessments of the different scenarios and contexts that exist within the Middle East.
The president owes it to the American people to go on television, to explain to the American people, to the service members who have died in action serving our country, why we are at war with Iran. He needs to go on television and explain that directly to the American people, what the imminent threat was.
Gentleman's time has expired. I would advise members that a vote has been called. It's a single vote, and if members want to shuttle back and forth so we can maintain the continuity of the hearing, we'll do that. So if you start to see it, just to our witnesses, you know how this works. They'll be moving in and out to go address that vote and then returning to their seat. But at this time, I recognize Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, for the record, I would like to submit an article from Politico dated February.
Why does this guy sound like Kyle Kalinske?
2026, and the title of it is Head of State of the Union Dems Demand Trump Make Iran Plans Public. I think most Americans understand that if the President of the United States makes those plans public, then the enemies get to see them
Without objection, so ordered.
and that was the date of the State of the Union. Director Patel, I'm going to come to you very quickly, and then I'm going to move on. But I listened closely to Senator Langford's testimony yesterday about fraud and the other things that are going on, and I want to bring your attention. This was in March 25th of 2024. An unsuspecting Uber driver named Lalitha Tulanda Hall drove to a house near Columbus, Ohio to pick up a package. She had no idea that the 81-year-old man who lived there had just received a series of phone calls from scammers who had threatened to kill him if he did not give the woman coming to his house $12,000 in cash.
Jesus.
He killed the lady, so she's dead. He now has a life sentence. Are you aware of any action or investigation that the Justice Department has taken to pursue justice, to bring the scammers and put them and make them pay for what they did?
I think you're referring to Congressman scam centers and scam compounds that are wreaking havoc on our citizens.
I'm referring to this individual case. This lady was murdered, and a man now has life in prison.
I can't speak to that individual case. I can tell you what we're doing generally if you wish, but as you said.
No, sir. I want to bring that case to your attention. I think that we need to pursue that. Someone is dead, and someone else has life in prison. And it was the scammers that did it. My heart goes out to both families, but the scammers are the ones that need to pay the price. They're the guilty party here. Director Gabbard, you made a lot of changes
to go to jail.
at OD.
Wait,
This
so
was fucking crazy.
a guy showed up at an apartment or something to drop off something, and then a scammer convinced the person whose home he was going to kill the person, or to give the person.
So, scammers calling an old dude. They're saying, "Hey, we're sending someone there to get the money. You owe us, I don't know, like $20,000 to bail your kid out of jail or whatever. Blah blah blah." Lady who just drives Uber gets a pickup to go pick up a package. She shows up. She waits there. Is like waiting outside to pick up a package. Eventually, the guy comes out.
Okay.
Or no, she comes to the door. She knocks. The guy comes out, holds a gun to her, and is like, "You're trying to kill me. You're trying to steal my money. Blah blah blah." Because the people on the phone, who were the scammers, were threatening him, saying like, "We have someone there at your house now. If you don't give over the money, they're gonna kill you." Blah blah blah. The lady refuses to give her phone over. And then the guy has a gun to her, and he keeps saying, "Give me your phone, give me your phone. I want to check your phone." She refuses. She gets in the car, and then this guy just shoots her dead. So he killed a Uber driver who was there for a package.
Okay, wait. So he killed the Uber driver.
Mm-hmm.
But who was on the phone with the scammers?
Scammers were on the phone with this guy who killed the Uber driver.
Okay. And why was he asking her for her phone? Because of the scammers on
Because he thought that she was one of the scammers who was threatening to kill her.
She wasn't like going to his house or whatever. She was just like happened to be there.
No, she was going to his house to pick up a package from Uber.
Why is Uber shipping a package from his house?
So Uber does like where they'll come and get a parcel from.
Yeah.
And then they'll take it somewhere else.
Okay. So it sounds like she was part of the scam. No?
But she had no idea.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's crazy shit. Yeah.
So, like, if I were to call you and tell you, like, you need to put money in a thing or your family's going to die, but the person that I've got contracted, quote unquote, to pick it up is I just do a random, like, Uber parcel.
It's a random Uber. Yeah.
Damn. So, and the guy got life in prison.
Well, he killed this lady.
Yeah. But I mean,
I get it, but he still killed a random lady.
yeah, but damn, bro.
You should watch it. There's a cop slap of it.
There's oh, Jesus.
It's interesting.
You should watch the video. She tells him like 4 times that she works for Uber. Well, yeah, but isn't that exactly what a scammer person would say? Jesus. Okay.
ODNI changes that I think were necessary that I want to give you the chance to talk about. So what concrete steps in ODNI 2.0, what are they taking to address politicization, weaponization of intelligence?
Wait, did I watch this or did you guys watch this on anything
No,
else?
I watched it. They're being.
Oh, okay. Yeah, wait, link me.
You didn't see it.
Link it in chat, I guess.